I schedule a live first of all, I don't know how to schedule lives on anything other than, like, the app, like, it would have to be 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. I can't get the hand to move so I can make it a more specific time. So anyways, if I ever make a post and I'm like, "I'm gonna be on it, duh, duh, duh," I'm good when I need to be punctual, like, for school or work, I can do it, but, I really don't wanna be one of those, like, unreliable YouTubers, and I keep telling myself I really need to get a schedule, like, for months now, I've been doing my Mondays only members lives. I think I've moved 2 of them to a Tuesday, but, like, I was thinking that, I'm like, I can stick to the Mondays for members. Maybe I should do, like, a Friday, like, a guaranteed live Friday night. Anyways, I wanted to do 2 lives tonight, and then it took me so long to get on here initially, I put them both in the title. So I have this Padre Pio prophecy we're gonna start with, and then we're gonna end. I know it really should be 2 different videos, honestly, but we're gonna end with the school teachers in Arizona, the 2 teachers involving 1 boy, and I just have a lot to say about that. Hey, Michelle, how are you? I don't know how many of you have heard about Padre Pio. I actually got one of his little cards, and like it was on my bookshelf, and now it's like it fell down somewhere. But I'm just gonna go, I guess I'll just read my notes and then I'm gonna get in the chat, of course, but I actually have a lot of notes tonight. Padre Pio, I didn't write down his full name, but he was born on May 25th, 1887 in Italy to poor farmers. His parents worked hard to help him study for priesthood. He first became a friar, and if you don't know, friars are like monks, except they live and work like in the public. They don't go do their own thing at a monastery like by themselves. And in 1915, I'm a little all over the place. In 1910, he was officially ordained for priesthood. That was always his goal. But in 1915, he was drafted into military service. And he kept getting dismissed for poor health and then going back, getting drafted back into the service. It sounded like it happened 2 or 3 times at least, and then they would be like, "Okay, you can go home, you're too sick for this," but then they'd call him back, and he was done by March 1916. So, when he was 17 years old, so I guess this is 77, 1904? He was so ill, it is said that he could only digest milk and cheese, which that's interesting, right? Who is ill and can only digest dairy? Like, but this is all allegedly. And he was sent to live in the mountains because they thought the mountain air would help him with whatever sickness was going on. He sounded like he was probably a pretty sickly young person. And okay, so a few more people joined. We're talking about Padre Pio, who was born in 1887. He went on to become a priest by 1910. He was ordained. Hi, Ender. How are you doing? And let me get my after becoming I do get in the chat a lot. Like I have notes, I have pages of notes, but I'm gonna try to keep up with the chat. And then after I'm done reading the notes, we're gonna have a fun chat. Okay. And we're also going to talk about 2 Arizona teachers who are not being charged for raping and grooming a freaking teenage boy, okay? It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place like usual. So, after becoming a priest in 1910, he became known for his reported healing abilities as well as other things like levitation, bilocation. That means what it sounds like, being able to be in 2 places simultaneously. Supposedly, he healed many people, one of whom is still alive. This woman who was a young girl at the time. She was born with no pupils and she was always blind, but supposedly, after an encounter with him, she could see and she still can see to this day, which should be medically impossible with no pupils. So it's things like this. What are the blessings? D said Jesus is king. That's nice. What are I should know this. In Catholicism, when something is like a miracle, there's a term for that. I think it starts with an S. I'm sorry. It's just like I'm fascinated by this stuff because I'm not saying I believe in it 100%, but I definitely don't dismiss it. There's this guy, now I forget his name, of course, who's like done a lot digging into the Noah's Ark evidence and all sorts of other evidence that these things that happen in the Bible. And it seems like in my lifetime, they found a lot to confirm a lot of what is in it. But it seems like they could study these things well. Like, is there really genuinely, can somebody like fact check this? If Guinness Book of World Records can fact check all the stuff that they do, can somebody go see if this lady has pupils and if she can really see or not? Because that should be something that would be easy to verify, right? And what Pio is very well known for are his prophecies and stigmatas. So, if you didn't know, stigmatas are open, visible wounds which correlate with the places that Jesus Christ was unfortunately, punctured, impaled upon like when he was nailed to the cross. And supposedly his stigmata smelled sweet. I'm probably gonna say supposedly so much. Let's say that I can say supposedly with every sentence. I'm not saying any of this is 100% true. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm gonna stop trying to say supposedly because I know that can be annoying. I just don't want people to think I'm reading this like as a fact. And while I am not a Christian or Catholic myself, I do believe in Jesus and the Bible. So I'm one of those people. I'm not religious, but I'm very open-minded and we talk about all sorts of stuff here on this channel. Hi, Will, and how are you? Hey, Edge of South, how are you? I don't do WhatsApp. Hey, Mr. Hand, how are you? Mr. Handsome, I like that name. That's funny. Um, yeah, stigmatas, well, so and there is a little some people say that Christ couldn't have been nailed to the cross through the palm of his hands, but the burial shroud, if you believe in that, shows that there was something there, right? But there's also speculation that maybe they used ropes on his arms, and it's so horrible to think about. Like, I know I'm just saying it like it's just another day, but like it really is horrible and to think about. And so like I said, since I'm a Christian, it's 5 places, so what would that be? Hands, feet, or, like, ankles, and, like, I don't know what the 5th place would be, but they're usually and 80% of stigmatists, that's what it's called when you're a person afflicted by this, are women, and once again, I'm not honestly, I'm just gonna say it, I don't really buy it because when he died, supposedly, they were completely healed. Supposedly, too, when he died there I go with the supposedly, he had no blood in his body. Once again, this was in the '60s, I think, so it can't be verified right now, but it seems like somebody could have verified that back then. Um, I'm from Kentucky. I used to live in California just for like a year when I was little. I lived near Escondido, way south. I'm more scared of a God existing than not, Take said. Oh, I hope that you can one day feel faith in the higher power. Whatever you look at it as, it should give you faith. You should be here, and there's like more than our physical bodies. The crown of thorns, Caleb said. Is that the I'm sorry, Caleb, are you saying that's the 5th one? I believe it's fake, but there may be spiritual reason for stigmata. Right, Albert? So his supposedly smelled sweet. That to me, I'm just saying, it kind of sounds like when people put dye in corn syrup. I don't know what was going on 100 years ago or so, but I thought about that. And he was super serious. Like when he was younger, they investigated him possibly having a sexual relationship. He was like very young. I don't fault anybody for that, even if they want to be a priest their whole life. But like he seemed so incredibly devout, even through all his sickness and stuff. He would cry like the entire mass, people said. Like he was just like so sincere with his belief. And then so it's like, okay, so I kind of feel like he did have special powers. He was just also extremely religious. And I don't want to say religious indoctrination and upset anybody because sometimes I use that term and then I feel bad. I actually used it in a comment earlier today. And then I'm like, I don't want to make anybody feel like I'm patronizing them for something they believe in. But there is a difference between having like sincere faith and being indoctrinated with something written by a man trying to manipulate you in your sincere faith? Are Jewish women the chosen people? Oh, go, Rogo. My last live, I said that I don't support is not Jewish people, not that, but the country. I feel like I can't even say it. And something happened that never happened. I've live streamed for a long time, you guys, probably hundreds of hours. I actually wanted to count the hours. And like in all the time I've been live streaming, I have never had that happen where the screen went black, but I still stayed on, like people could hear. And then I couldn't sign back on. I restarted my phone 2 times and it just kept spinning. And even when I went to make a post, I could get on my post, I could start a video, but I couldn't. I was kind of worried. I was like, oh shit, I hope I don't lose my account. And just so you guys know, if I ever do disappear, just look for me. Just look for a little Kentucky homestead. I'll like start that again. I have a backup channel. I would change the name to I know I have a big mouth and I don't expect to like never be censored, but it is encouraging to see there's so many people calling it out. Dolan Duck. Hey, new shout out to all the haters and trolls out there. Send all donations to Go Rogo. I'm winning the lottery, Justin said. Good for you. How are you doing, Justin? Sorry, I don't want to miss any of you guys, but yeah, I think we're all human beings. I don't think there's any particular race of humans. And honestly, I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, it has to be white supremacy at the heart of it. I'm not saying every single person that supports that country and what they're doing right now are white supremacists. I think some people really just are naive and like are doing what they think is right. But there's definitely like somebody said it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. If the people in Israel, just gonna say it, were were like olive skin tone and brown, like a lot of the other people in the Middle East, I don't think so many people would support them. And it makes me sad to say that, but it's true. And I think their prejudice is so strong, sometimes they don't even see it for what it is, you know? It's just life to them. They just judge people that aren't white like them. I'm doing good, DG. How are you? What does 6'7" mean? I don't know what it means. My brother's cousins say it. It's just it doesn't mean anything, Jamie. People just say it to be funny and there's no real rhyme or reason. It'll even say 6'7" when you're the 67th person to like a video on YouTube. If you haven't seen that, if you like a short, you know, and you're the 67th, Jesus saves God's son, Mark said. 68, Jamie said, I want to marry a duchess. That's funny. Hi, my name is what's going on today? Can I get a shout out? Oh, okay. I was like, "What does that say, Nick?" Oh, okay, I get it. That wouldn't really be sound like that word. I'm not gonna say that. Zionist is the idea that one type of people are better than everyone else and you mean nothing to them. Yes, go. Thank you for saying that. It's not well, I mean, isn't it kind of a Jewish thing? Okay, we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop with that. I don't think that all Jewish people walk around thinking that. Think that it's the whole deal, right? That's like the whole point, and it's the Zionists that take it one step too far, and instead of just being like, "This is us, this is our deal," they're gonna be like, "We're gonna try to take what is rightfully ours." And somebody said that earlier, Israel in the Bible, and I was like, "Well, the country Israel is not what they're talking about in the Bible, right? Because it wasn't even there yet." But anyways, that's I should get through my notes. Supposedly, his stigmata is healed upon death. There's supposedly no blood in his body. Um, Before we get into Pio's most well-known prophecy, I want to mention that nowhere in the Bible does it say when the end is or anything really about this prophecy of 3 days and three nights and days of darkness. That Matthew 24 verse 36 says no man shall know the hour of the end times or when Jesus will return. And that's something a lot of people make sure that people know. Once again, like I would like to read the Bible in its entirety one day, but like I'm not an expert on this at all. So I really lean on what other people say. And I think that was an important point to make. And I can't stress that enough. I'm not saying I believe in everything. We're going to read some of his prophecy now, okay? It's like half of it. And then I realized I can't write all of this down. I will love to have the internet one day and be able to screen share with y'all. And honestly, there was a YouTuber who did a wonder brought this to my attention 3 years ago. I remember listening to it at work 3 years ago. And like I'm not gonna mention her channel because it's really unfortunate now. She's clearly, like, gotten on hard drugs and is struggling, and it's so sad because she's such a smart person, such a devout Christian, and she had a young child 3 years ago. It's so sad what has happened to this woman. She disappeared for a little while, and then she came back completely strung out, and it was just like, wow. But she herself had a dream when she was 16 that she said is very similar to what Padre Pio described, and it really resonated with her. So anyways, makes me so sad when that happens to people, you know, I don't look down on people who are struggling with addiction at all, especially in this world. Big Kentucky, glory to God, Mark said. MAGA is nothing more than American Nazi. James, I totally understand where you're coming from. I don't want to lay a blanket statement over a bunch of people, but things are just so bad right now. He is acting out so badly. Caleb said, think about what Jews believe. They don't believe that anyone can be saved because they don't believe in Jesus. So they think people are basically less than Jews. Yes, Caleb, I've heard that they think that people who believe in Jesus, like, you know, they talk, you know, they have their nicknames for us and everything. So I'm talking about Padre Pio right now, Caleb, or Cable Dog. Hey Gary, how are you doing? And I'm gonna finish my notes. Thank you, Sid. That's really sweet. I am Jewish. We have a different set of rules for y'all. Cable Dog said, Lone Star, pop question for you. What is a religious belief of the founder of the platform you're using? Oh yeah. I think we all know the answer to that. Oh, hey Michelle. I saw you first thing. I'm saying that like I just saw you. Jesus is coming back on the 20th, Steve says. Oh, I hope you have a great evening too, Gary. It actually was God changed Jacob's name to Israel, and that was the promised land promised to them by God. Right, but it's not I still don't think that they're literally talking about that country exactly, and anybody can verify that. I do understand what you're saying, Justin. Israel is in there. It's spoken about this place where people and it used to be different in the 1800s. It was something else. You say Jacob's name to Israel, and that was a promise. Yeah, that's what it was. It was like Jacob Tina or something like that. Joey Fells has these old Bibles from like the 1850s, and then he can show like, maybe not the literal year, but shows the later one where they're saying Israel. So that's interesting. And I just wonder, like, it's so manipulated. And I think I believe in God. I believe that man, meaning men and women, not just man like that, manipulate it and use it to oppress people, whatever those belief systems are, and like there's a lot of truth in the Bible, but it also can be interpreted in many ways. And like Amish people, they are allowed to Bible study. I'm sure some of them do, but technically it's like the medieval times. Like they're only supposed to go during their church services, which I believe are every other Sunday, where they go and listen to somebody perform a sermon. And then it's like they're not allowed to like read the Bibles on their own, or at least some of them, because they all have different ordons, like, or rules to follow that are made by like whoever is the leader of that group of them. But anyways, read the story of Samson from the Bible. I liked that story. Just keep driving and said, okay, Dilly, you shouldn't be addicted to anybody on YouTube. Trust me, any of you guys that think, and I love the Lord, Dilly said, that's nice. Trump is a Nazi case. I'm n I have nervous laughter if any of you like, I don't like laughing at that stuff. I know, it's just it's insane. The stuff that it's literal insanity, and I can't believe our president, and I'll admit, I supported him. I used to think the stuff he said was funny, so I can wrap my head around why somebody thinks he's that's just the way he is. I can wrap my head around that until he's starting to threaten to wipe out whole civilizations of people. I can't. There's no making an excuse for that. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting out of my notes too much. I'm gonna start reading the actual prophecy, and then we're gonna talk about it. Hi, Jessica, how are you? Oh, look who's back. The uninformed liberal who speaks out her. Oh, look who's back. Another troll that calls me a liberal when I was literally just talking about how I supported Trump. Until he started to go against all of his campaign promises. Really, it didn't take long either. He really started to do stuff that like affected farmers. And I know I'm not a farmer, but it's like they very much supported him, or like 70% of them. Israel is a shit country, as Zendaya said. Ziadra. Remember, Jesus was Jewish, Justin said. Mr. Money, how are you? Oh, thank you. You like my hair. When did Jesus was Jewish? Okay, I'm gonna read the freaking prophecy. Hey, Moonshine, how are you? Now I'm gonna blame the patriarchy the most, treaty breakers. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the patriarchy with the second story, the female predator teachers that aren't getting charged. And we all know if men were doing that, they would be in jail right now, rightfully so. And anyways, we're gonna get to that when we get to it, because you guys need to hear what I have to say about it. Hi, Bob from North Carolina. How are you? So marry a Duchess apps. Hey, whatever. Does the Bible say anything about Jesus or God coming back to earth other than the rapture? Garrett Thines asked. I mean, I don't support MAGA or Israel in the modern sense, but I'm trying to pronounce that better. Iran, China, Russia, even modern day neo-Marxists, etc. All bad extremism is on both sides. Yes, I do agree with you that extremism is on both sides for sure. And they have shown a lot of propaganda trying to make it seem like all Muslims are the extremists to us. And from my opinion, that's what they've done to Americans, especially since 911. Oh my goodness. I mean, do you guys see that journalists say that Trump told them about how we sent guns and he thought the Kurds were going to have them and give them to the protesters, but he thinks they just kept them. Could you could you imagine if some other country sent guns during the unrest in our country over the last decade, every time there's been a bunch of protests in a big city? Could you imagine if another, like, I that's really what people need to start doing more. Put yourself in their shoes. Could you imagine being in Lebanon and having somebody just take your house from you? Could you imagine somebody coming and taking your house and bombing your whole town and being like, "This is ours." God. Like, if people really don't put themselves in other people's shoes enough, because that helps with everything, literally every relationship you'll ever have. You know what I mean? Hasn't Iran said they would destroy our civilization even before we attack them? Joshua, they're okay. So there's a chant that they say. It doesn't translate the way Sheila Noor, once again, she's Iranian. She speaks, I'm sorry, I should know the language. She speaks it. She said she even thought her mom was being more mean when she used this particular word that sounds like death to America. the translation is really like down with America. And they've made it clear that they see us different from our government, at least the people that are, they're all going to have different. It's a country of 90 million people. First of all, there's going to be people with differing opinions, right? I don't think any of them were asking to be bombed more, though. Like, how could anybody believe that? I don't think any of them were like, yes, Trump, keep bombing us some more. That is ridiculous. Talk about propaganda. Could you imagine years from now that will be in a history book? And the president of the United States said that the country they started a war with wanted them to bomb them more and be like, the war hasn't been officially declared. How many times have you heard Trump talk about this war? I'm going to say it too. I'm sorry, you guys. I agree, Steve. Politics are poisonous, divided people so much we can't agree to do anything or see what's going on in front of us. Don't make one thing your identity when we are more complex than that. Yes, just keep driving. And anybody that does disagree with me, that obvious automatically is like liberal, this or that. I bet we would agree on more than we would disagree on. Like people we mostly want the same thing. Most of us are greedy fucks. We just want a comfortable, we just want to be able to come home and pay our bills and feed. Like most people don't ask, or we have way more like than different. In the 90s when I was growing up, there was this like level of respect I wish we could get back to. I don't think we ever will be able to, where it was like you could agree to disagree. How can I tell if my question is coming from genuine curiosity or from ego? Vilo, you put quotes around that, so I don't know what you mean by that. If somebody else said that, or if that's like some famous quote. Say, but my income backwards. Backward. My wife is from Owensboro, Kentucky. That's nice, bald. I like that place. Mike Walker, if it's the area I'm thinking about, why do people believe everything they read? You're giving up on your ability to learn from curiosity and focus. Do what others tell you. It's so much easier. Yeah, I think it's really obvious. Some people just stick to their one side, because you call me a liberal. I watch very left leaning, very right leaning, and my favorite people are independents like me, honestly. And it seems like maybe those independents do lean just very slightly to the left more on it, but like I've always leaned towards the right. When he taught in the temple, Jesus was Jewish, Justin said. Well, before like Christianity began, that's just like a gray area. If you don't, considering from what I've heard, he is mocked a lot by people of that faith. Of course, not all, not all. Honestly, I've seen and heard more respect from Muslims, the Muslim culture, just Islam. And I know there's bad, I know, I get it. Okay. There's lawmakers fighting to make it okay for like 14-year-olds to get married in this country. There's old men taking advantage of young girls like all over the world. It's always been a thing, unfortunately. If you didn't know that, there's like seriously lawmakers that don't want to like keep it at 16 or whatever with parental consent. Okay, so this is his most famous prophecy, which is the prophecy of 3 dark days and nights. I really want to get into it, so I'm going to finish at the chat. Fendi, hey, how are you? I'm glad to see you in here. Both sides talk shit about each other's religion, but both sides are all messed up, Tony said. Yeah, I think there's good and bad people in every group, Like there's good Christians that really are good examples of Christians, and there's good Muslims that are good examples of Muslim. Because when Christ suggested we remember him every time we eat, folks misunderstood. Plus, the vast majority of religious organizations are filled by evil and greedy false prophets. Yes, AJ. Yes. And I'm going to put it out soon. I remade this video about Titus Morris a bunch, but I have scripture. There's a lot of scripture where they're warning us of people who want to make money off of God's word. Why do so many people like give money to these multimillionaires with like 3 private jets and stuff, like evangelists? Oh, hey, Rhett, I remember you. How are you doing? Yes, I did like Trump at one point, Wilton, and I changed my mind. For sure. And everybody's welcome here as long as you're not gonna like lecture me or like, you can give me your opinion and give me facts or whatever, but like as long as you're polite about it. Somebody came in my comment section and said, like, I ignored a question about abortions and Chicago shootings on the weekends. And I'm like, "Whoa, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've always made it clear I've been pro life most of my life until recently. And that's because of the changes in the laws. And like, I, I just like, it's all horrible. It's horrible when people get shot in Chicago. I don't understand why you're bringing that up when it comes to wars in the Middle East. Because you're a racist that's the only thing that makes sense. Because in your Jeremy, thank you for sending that 100. I saw. Thank you. Kenneth Churchland. Yes, he's one of those like mega pastors. He's got the creepy eyes, doesn't he? There are similarities in most religions that should be a lifestyle, not a label. Yes, Michelle, I agree. There are definitely more common threads, just like we were saying about people. I've always leaned left, just never Democrat, though. I need to get better at being neutral. I was being natural. Because Trump made me believe that the Republican Party wasn't full of neocons. Yeah, right. I think that there's still a lot of reasonable conservatives that aren't so far right, but I know what you mean. The word liberal don't mean what it used to, Josh said. I agree with that. O- Okay. Mega pastors are not Christians, Bald said. Yeah, yeah, they're not really. Oh, thank you, Pyramid. Yeah, that's what it was with them. Okay, so now we're going to read Finson. His prophecy, like I said, I wrote down like half of it, then I was like, I can't keep writing this down. So on January 28th, 1950, I'm gonna read one more comment. Jesus definitely did not appreciate people turning God's house into a marketplace. Yes, Edge. Isn't it funny that alt left and the alt right both agree to hate the no no people? Pop said. I used to hate the rich after 17 years of owning my company and becoming rich. I realized that I used to be an idiot. The real term, oh my gosh, I commented. There's this, listen to me, okay. There was a shorts where a girl was showing her parents' natural pool, and like, yeah, you could tell these people probably had some money. She said her parents farm organic fruit trees. She didn't say organic. She said they have a fruit tree farm. They don't spray chemicals on, so it didn't make sense to them to have this pool full of chemicals. And it's actually cheaper to have a natural pool like this. It was so beautiful. It was like a big L-shaped pool. Great example of a natural pool. I made it obvious myself. I have a true disdain for the owning class. I don't like rich, greedy people that siphon off the rest of us any more than anybody else. But somebody made this comment. When I watch that video, I'm like, God, if you ever bless me with enough to do all that, like I will bless other people. Like that's the kind of thought I have. I'm not like, oh, and then I saw this comment. They're like, she's obviously rich and that's what's wrong with the world. I'm like, no, no, it's not the rich people farming fruit trees, using no chemicals, building a natural pool in their backyard. And like this is in California where California didn't used to be only for millionaires. A lot of people bought their homes decades ago when it was reasonably priced. Like it just, I don't look at anybody with money and think I'm like, "Ooh, I hope I have some of that one day." Unless you're literally part of the owning class. Like if you're farming your land, you're working. But that is only going to push that away from you even more, and like that kind of attitude, like looking at everybody that has more than you with disdain, will only make you poorer for longer. And I'm not saying that the easy way to get money, just manifest it, but like it will. Oh, Wilton, thank you for saying you love my podcast. That's so sweet. I'm glad to see a lot of conservatives are finally seeing through Trump's bullshit. Bald Nightmare said, yes, I agree, support the nation, not the parties. If only, AJ, that does. Your hair reminds me of handlebars, Armando said. That's so funny. Oh my god, I just got that. Yeah. I am so fucking oblivious to certain things. I'm earning a degree within studying the Bible this semester, and I do cuss. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be better about that, but it's hard. I'm earning a degree within studying the Bible this semester and have experience with many religions and the occult. Cool, G board. My favorite class in college was world religions. And the guy that taught it was a Seventh day Adventist preacher. Isn't that cool? But he was like one of the most open minded. Like, I've always had like an interest in Seventh day Adventists. I'm not saying that I personally would be that, but I think it's really interesting. Can't agree with woke people ever, Bobby said. Hi from Iran, Black Bear said. I don't know if you're being sincere, but if you are, I hope you're well. And I didn't think that, I don't know. Some people probably have access to the internet there, right? Everyone is going to be woke before 2028, Nick said. Jesus was not worried about numbers. He had thousands listening to him and he narrowed it down to 12. Bob, what did I not disagree with? Isn't it funny the alt left and the alt right both agree to hate? Well, I mean, when I read that, it's like, yeah, I don't agree that the alt right, it took them long enough. This is what I think is going on. People on the right are all forming together for Nick Fuentes had that blue hat, like make America great again. What are they saying? They're saying it's something slightly different. Did you know make America great again was like literally something from like um God, now I need to watch that video again. It's an old slogan, and it's definitely involves like white supremacy. Jesus was not worried about numbers. He had thousands listening to him, and okay, I already read that comment. Just remember when people ask, "What would Jesus do?" You should tell him chasing people with a whip and flipping tables is well within the realm of plausibility. Right, Rhett? It's not funny because it's right. So I guess some people have came around, but yeah, I think that they're trying to like form their own party because they can tell Trump has gone off the fucking rails and he can't run again anyways. I know they keep like tossing that idea around. That's not going to happen. They're definitely going to like lose midterms and like they know that they need to basically start a whole other like party to get back on track. Yes, that's the whole point. I'm talking on my live. Wouldn't it be boring if I just sat here and looked at y'all, John? Parasite class. Yes, Edge of South. I really like that term for them. You think God just blessed billionaires? No, Nick, I don't. Look at Elon Musk. He doesn't seem very blessed. He doesn't blessed an adult way. And he's a perfect example of money doesn't buy happiness. It makes you happier when you have enough to survive. Yes, it does. That is true. Money buys you enough happiness to feel out of survival mode. But once you have more than that, you don't need to have billions of dollars and you're just hoarding wealth and resources from other people. And you're a sociopath for doing so. And then turning around acting like he's some genius because he has to save face. That man's not a genius. He's taken other people's ideas and slapped his name on their patents, just like so many other people, like Thomas Edison. God's house was turned into a bad whore, a better false offerings sold to pilgrims and bribes paid to high priests. Most of Christ's criticisms were against the clergy, not the laity. I have heard of that. When he was flipping tables, it was like about him being mad over people making money in the church, like in a marketplace type way. Bobby Fischer, yes, I drink coffee all day. Dirty, dirty damn, respect the vote. Trump is the man. Oh, you know, this is funny. My last live, I was like, I guess some people maybe on meth might talk fast, but I was like, hey, somebody's saying I'm on drugs, and then somebody's saying I'm talking too fast. And I re-listened to that and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. Of course, people talk too fast when they're on drugs sometimes. Meth, I should know that. Not that I've done it. It's just like I live in Kentucky. Reagan, and he was a traitor too, Rhett said. Yes, it's from 1930s Germany. Thank you, Bot. I was going to say Nazi slogan, but I was like, stop myself because I didn't want to say the wrong thing. Jimothy thinks Trump is a G. I thought I knew religion well till I got into the Ethiopian Bible. Dog Dad, I have Gloom or Doom, a regular on here recommended. Gosh, I can't think of it. Oh my gosh, that's gonna bother me now. Jeez Louise. I seriously think that it's time. The Book of Enoch, like whatever, the three books of Enoch or whatever, like in one. And, I'm like, "Should I read that, or is that stupid to read that and not have read the Bible?" And I have a Bible that's, like, plain English, and I know somebody's gonna say King James Version is the best version. You guys, I can't read that. I can't absorb that. It takes so long. That's why I haven't done it. And, like, I got this Bible years ago because a good friend of mine who does comment and watch my stuff sometimes, I don't know if she'll watch this, but, like, she was like, "Okay, this is if you can't absorb the Bible that way, then you need to, like, get this," and I was really grateful for that, but I still haven't read it. Justin, that should hint you towards a uniparty aesthetic, Rhett said. Trump equals Hitler, Colitis said. Oh, hey, Stone Papa Smurf, I just left my sister's engagement party. Happy you're on for a ride home. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. I'm somebody's like entertainment for the ride home. I love that. You're going to make me cry. Because, there's been so many times I would be listening to a YouTuber at work or like driving, and I'm like, I could do this like in a not like, if this person could do it, I can do it. Just like, oh yeah, like I could talk for an hour or two. Do you know that Trump, Elon Musk, and Tulsi Gabbard were all Democrats until the Democrats went nuts? Yes, Justin. That is a very good point. I like how you lump those three people together to make that point. Yeah. It just shows how manipulative. Did you know Tulsi Gabbard was like raised in a cult? I had no idea. And her dad was extremely homophobic. Her dad was like known for talking shit about gay people. And he even had a radio show, in Hawaii that was like straight, da da da. Like the straight was in the name is a dig on gay people. I forget the exact name, but it was so dumb. And then he said something just like completely crossing the line, I guess, finally, and got like canceled. But I thought that was interesting because I used to like Tulsi a lot, but once again, I was fooled. I thought that she was like a sincere person that meant everything she said. But like, you can't trust any politician, especially career politicians. It's borderline impossible to be Christian and a Democrat, Jimothy said. Okay, I already read that. I've got a bunch of money in my Monopoly game, but it's not real. I wish it was, Philip said. Yeah, I know. I have like 2 or 3 Bitcoins out there somewhere, guys. It's been 17 years almost since I like you got them. And hello from Biloxi. How are you, Frank? Why are we ignoring the fact that there's victims out there with no justice for them? All we can do is focus on red versus blue. Kev, that's what they wanted, right? They wanted to divide and conquer us so we don't stand up for the real things. Democrats can't seem to get tired of crying. Oh, Jimothy, I don't know. I think there's just extremes on both sides. The Coptic, somebody else recommended that. Is that like a lost book of the Bible? Justin, I love Kentucky. We went to Mammoth Cave National Park last year. It was awesome. Mammoth Cave is awesome. I'm so glad you got to experience that, Bald. Kentucky is nice, isn't it? Now, I have to say this because, like, I have a friend that lives in Eastern Kentucky here on YouTube, Diamond in the Sticks, and she said people are pretty freaking racist out there. Like in Central Kentucky, where Mammoth Cave is like an hour, a little more, hour and a half away from us. But anyways, I'm from Louisville. There's a lot of, like, little universities and a lot of people from all over the place in certain areas, but then you go to the more isolated areas. Oh my gosh, I just don't know. Depend if and I don't wanna say, only go if you're white. That sounds it's like, fuck billionaires too, guys said. If you read Leviticus, it's a disturbing path, Rez said. Okay, I'm so sorry. Official if anybody's listening on the replay, they're probably like, "Oh my gosh, read this." I'm so sorry. This is Padre Pio's most famous prophecy. He had a bunch of them. Good for you, Jorge. That's what the Bible started me down the Ethiopian Bible. Oh, cool dog, Dad. Thank you, Slothful. Oh, I hope you feel well in the morning, Jorge. And if you're ever hungover, like try to ingest some good salt. I like salty lemon water, but I'm weird. But the hangover isn't from being dehydrated as much as it's the misplacement of minerals in your blood from all the alcohol, like that. And you should rehydrate too, but it's just like something I learned way too late. And Nux vomica, cell salts really helps with, but if you believe in homeopathy, Abator is slaughterhouse. God wanted mercy, the choice to avoid sin and not destroy one's best livestock. Mercy rather than just shedding blood of an animal someone sold you that you did not care for. Thank you for explaining that, AJ. You could tell I didn't have any idea what that word was. Check out the Living Bible. It's paraphrased. I'm not religious at all, by the way. That's cool, Bald Nightmare. I'm not religious myself either, but it's just undeniable that there's a lot of truth in the Bible. And like I think that um I just want to get to know more about it just because of being around a lot of Christians too, it'd be nice to be able to talk about it, but I really do think there's a lot of truth. If you want an honest commentary about politics, listen to Tom McDonald's Me Versus You. It refuses to age. Oh, I like that song he made after Charlie Kirk got killed. And I wasn't a huge fan of Charlie Kirk, but just the way people acted. I wanted Bernie and Tulsi ticket back in 2016. Mr. Money said, "Yes, I'm going to ask out my crush next week. Wish me luck," Princess Shiloh said. Good luck. And you know what? Rejection is God's protection. Remind yourself that. Think good thoughts. But like, if for some reason it doesn't work out, that's good to know that, like, before you spend a year with them or something, you should have exchanged your Bitcoins during COVID. I didn't know I couldn't access them then. At Abraham, I hope I'm saying that somewhat right. Sounds like I'm moving to Kentucky, Rez said. You have to be racist. Try to live in Chicago or St. Louis. You'll find out real quick. Oh, the real American. I'm from Louisville. I've lived in Southern California, half an hour away from the border. I prefer to be around a mix of people, and I've had way more good experiences with Black people than bad, if that's what you're getting at. And my worst experiences, honestly, the worst of the worst is always a white man. So I don't want to go there. It's like there's plenty of like bad people of all colors. And I'm not trying to like make excuses. I think people are products of their environment, and it's really sad. And I think a lot of it has to do with leaded pipes. A lot of these big cities, the cities were plumbed back in the day, and they used hydraulic lifts, like whatever, hydraulic jacks to raise these big buildings that were like 2, 3 stories tall. This was like in the late 1800s. They plumbed under there. They're never going to do that again. They like literally can't. I don't think people really realize how much like lead is poisoning. When you look up the symptoms of lead poisoning, it's like, yeah, it makes sense to me that like the ghetto where the most crime occurs seems to be in the older areas of town where there's these old houses from row houses from the 1800s, old houses period. All these big old houses were made into apartments long time ago. If you didn't know, there was this great flood in Louisville. Okay, I seriously need to. Louisville is one of my favorite places I've ever visited. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Bald. It really is a great city, isn't it? I love Louisville. Now, the crime drove us out and the cost of living, but like, I still love it. Hey, from London, Kentucky, Steph. Hey, how are you? I would love to see a better side of Kentucky someday. Yes, Michelle, you had a bad experience in Maysfield, is that it? What do you think of streamers like I Swallow? You almost got me there, Alejandro. Steph microdoses shrooms. That's cool. I've tried that before. And honestly, one time it made me really anxious, but I had a bad trip when I was 16. Salty lemon water helps with electrolytes and vitamins, right? That's why I used to do it. Yeah, Michelle, like fresh lemon juice is great for you for a number of reasons. It's like pH balancing and stuff. Kentucky is absolutely beautiful. And unfortunately, Mitch McConnell is from there. He's retiring finally, right, Bald? But we've got Thomas Massey to make up for it. I think I just love to get drunk, Jorge said. Just be careful. Maysville, Kentucky was my favorite place in Kentucky. Angelo said, "Oh, that's where Michelle had a bad experience. You can keep that coworker music and it can go in the trash," Fendi said. "You're pretty good at this. You should have a bigger audience." Oh, Bone Bone. That means a lot. Well, I really appreciate all you guys that do come back. It's like I'm not saying this once again, I don't ever want people to get pity because I know when YouTubers complain and there's been so many times in my life I'm like, "Oh, poor you. You get to make money talking to people, huh?" But it is hard to edit videos, which I'm not that great at, but it is work. You know what I mean? It is work to be the whole production team and write the scripts and edit. But thank you, Bone Bone. I was a big fan of Charlie Kirk Cook. He was just a person that spoke his opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. It's just when you go against Democrats and rainbow flags that pisses people off. Yeah, I know what you mean. The real American, like even when I like the pilot thing, I've said this before. I think that pilot racist was comment. Listen to me. Comment was racist. I don't think Charlie Kirk was a racist though, right? I really do. I've seen him interact with, I know that's like saying I have a black friend, but like he really seemed like he had a genuinely good heart. And I think that the things he did say that pissed a lot of people off, I think a lot of that was his donors being like, "Oh, make you sure you talk about how women should only be at home moms." BH, that is so funny. You're like the third person that said Alanis Morissette, and I never in my life would have ever said I look like Alanis Morissette until people on the internet. But I love her. No disrespect, that's Jorge style drunk and high, but I like your videos, Jorge said. Thank you, Jorge. Charlie was killed by a Republican, though, Bob said. I don't know. I think he was killed by I don't think he was killed by that person they said he was killed by, you know? I think he was assassinated by Israel. Are you gonna block me again, YouTube? Traffic in Louisville is terrible. Angela, yes. That was one thing. It's funny to me when people are like, "I wouldn't wanna live in the middle of nowhere." Well, when you live in a city, it takes 15 to 30 minutes to get from point A to point B, and you're, like, waiting at the stop, the traffic lights more. Here, you're driving through the most beautiful countryside you've ever seen in your life in America. I think there might be more beauty in Europe from what I've seen, and some places in South America are just, like, here times 100. I only caught Charlie on the tail end of his career, although I'm of the mind that he was taken out by the very people who replaced him. Right, Rhett? The real American thinks I'm delusional. Hi, Lydia. Glad to be here. You look like Cherokee Princess. Oh, Michael. Thanks for coming in, Michael. The real American. She seems pretty straightforward to me. Thank you, AJ. Yeah, what you see is what you get. And like you guys have seen, I used to support Trump. Now I don't. Like you never know. But like I'm still gonna treat everybody this. You get what you give. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna be mean about it, but, like, anybody that's like, "Oh, yeah, I still support this or that," like, I'm not gonna try to change your mind. We're all here to watch the world burn together. Erica has, and I feel bad when I say that because there are people dying in this war, and, like, that's oh, Erica has the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. She is dark red. She is. Jorge says beer is the best medicine. Hi, Eric. Okay, when your mouth moves faster than your brain. Do you have black friends, Eric? Well, yeah, I have. I don't have a like black friend that I'm really close to right now, but I've definitely had black friends in my life. Charlie and lots of biracial friends. Charlie made a living off stirring the pot, lived by the sword. Yeah, bald nightmare. I know what you're saying, and I've said a lot. He was a little out of touch because he got handed millions of dollars at the age of 18 by a billionaire to go around and have this foundation like that. Which one of us wouldn't go for that? I mean, that would be nice, but it's like it made him a little out of touch too at the same time. Um, right, you're funny. You could say it's ironic. Don't you think? Maybe one day we'll meet and get drunk and high. Maybe, Jorge. I'm down. The killer's dad was a Republican. Well, I am the resistance. I just don't believe, they can't for certain say this bullet came from that GUN, right? It's just like it's too damaged or whatever. They're not saying it didn't for sure. But like I don't think the official story adds up. When you take a gun apart, isn't it called zeroing it out? You can't just like take the scope off and then like put the scope on and shoot it right away. Like all this stuff that he supposedly did to unassemble it and assemble it and everything is like pretty bizarre. And I'm no expert, but I think if you ever dated a person or other ethnicities, you have a touch of racism because you don't view them as equal or attractive. If you never dated Talix, I see what you mean. Yeah, I've definitely dated people of everybody but Asian, but I mean, I got married at 22. Asian and Indian, this doesn't matter. It's just like because it doesn't mean that I wouldn't, though. Thank you, David. Jesus died for you all, Duke said. You're a very good person. I like your style. Oh, Jorge, that's nice. Grumpy, I don't support the president because he's committing war crimes. Him just threatening to bomb civilians, that's a war crime. Him just threatening to do it. And he did bomb a bridge. I kept saying, I think he bombed a bridge. I think he bombed a bridge, but it was like under construction. So it's in this gray area of like, it's not technically like in use by civilians. So I think he did that as like a warning, like, look, I can't do it. It's like a little kid touching something you tell him not to touch. He's like a petulant child. He really is. All of my girlfriends think I'm cheating on them. Andre's like, Eric, I did used to support Trump, so maybe that's why I look like a person that would support Trump. Were you saying because this eye's smaller than that eye before anybody says it? Because the president is fucking up, Bald said. Oh, hey, man, China, how are you? We still believe in MAGA because it's a populist movement, but MAGA in practice was sold out to the interests of that one place with the one star. Right, Rhett. I do understand where you're coming from. Yeah, that's, of course. And like Patara said, I don't regret supporting him. I'm not going to go back in time and wish I supported Kamala instead, because it's still about the same basic sentiment. And like he said this and that. Obviously, I was fooled. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but I was fooled. I really did think since he wasn't a career politician and his livelihood didn't depend off of it, it would be different and he would help drain the swamp, like he said. So I don't blame anybody else for thinking that. Wilton said Charlie's a bad person. Angelo, rest in peace, Sheridan Gordman, killed by an illegal alien spreading tuberculosis in Chicago. Is that a real story, Angelo? Of course, everything you say about Israel is for entertainment purposes and satire, right? Yes, Barry. Yes, this is all for entertainment purposes and satire. It takes less than 30 seconds to break down and reassemble a 30-06, really, with the scope and everything. Um, Still, could you imagine shooting somebody and then doing that as fast as you could? I guess it's possible, but I just think there's in the way that they paved over the crime scene a few days later, like, there's just so many things. I think they got Kirk because he probably stirred the pot and didn't want to follow the program. The bullet was too big, just to force was more than enough. Yes, Talix. Charlie was even against the war in Iran. He got taken out so we wouldn't get Bush 3.0. It's depressing. I do think that they were betting on Charlie possibly being a candidate, and they were like, okay, he's not going to be our puppet. He did have so much influence, and a lot of people didn't know of him or whatever. I definitely knew of Charlie Kirk as somebody that leaned towards the right. So I do think that there is some truth to that, and the things he said on his podcast about October 7th. Um, yeah, he was brave. My friend was diagnosed with colon cancer. That's why I'm drunk. Jorge, I'm so sorry to hear that. I am so sorry, Jorge. I've I've had friends that had that. I'm so sorry. It seems to be more common too. Wish good thoughts for them to go into remission as soon as possible, not have to get tons of treatment. I hope it's not that serious. Nothing you said is a war crime. Grumpy. Yes, it is. Threatening to bomb civilians is a war crime. And especially if you guys look it up, do you think this behavior is normal? It's not okay for a president to say he's going to obliterate a whole nation. The stuff he's saying, if Biden said that, be real. If Biden was going off on the internet at all hours of the night, the way that Trump is, and then the way he was like, CNN had a 100% approval poll of me. Literally a few sentences later, he's like, CNN, fake news. He is out of his mind. And that CNN thing, they were reposting a poll from NBC, I think, anyway. So, um, fuck Trump, Hagen said. The bridge being destroyed is like an abortion. He destroyed its potential, Talix said. Mr. Money, why is it that you have conservative right wing going to college campuses debating what amount to high schoolers? Well, I do. Okay, so I do think that it was a good thing. I think that the people that donated to him wanted to manipulate that, but I do think it's a good thing that for the first time, young people were taken more serious. I shouldn't say for the first time. You know what I mean? A lot of people have that attitude, "Oh, there's just young kids," but it's like when smoking companies wanna get advertised to the young kids before they can even buy cigarettes, like that used to be a thing. Try to get it in front of people as young as possible to make them lifelong customers. I look at it like that. They're trying to make people political young. Um Charlie would only debate college kids because otherwise he would get wrecked balls. With Kamala, it would have been the exact same. She's a staunch defender of Israel. Yes, it's just the Democrat party was forced to use identity politics ever since Occupy Wall Street thing. Yes, Rhett. I like that opinion. Ever since Occupy, yeah, I think you're right. And she said many times Iran was our biggest threat. Well, I how? How? It's always something. It was Russia, it's China, North Korea every once in a while, but anybody, come on. And then it's now it's Iran. And remember how we went over there initially because of 911 and we had to take care of terrorists. And then after years and years, I think it's weapons of mass destruction. I'm sorry, I forget. Which one did we go to first? Afghanistan and then Iraq? Whatever it was. After years, they started to say the weapons of mass destruction. I just don't understand how any adult that lived through that. And there's plenty of you guys that didn't live through that, or you were really little and probably didn't know what was going on. And like, you see it. I don't see how adults that are like my age, 40, 50s, 60s, lived through all of that and don't see this is exactly what they told us last time. They're going to nuke us. You see, we need to terrorize them before they terrorize us. That is ridiculous. They're the terrorists. Our country, Israel's military, They are the terrorists. They're the ones bringing the most terror. Iran wasn't, like I said, that one saying, it sounds like death to America. It's not strictly translated. Farsi, a lot of languages can't be translated word for word. And Farsi is a very like romantic, frilly, poetic language. These are the people that made math, made all of art and civilization as we know it. Like their language is very descriptive and they say things. It's like a Dawson's Creek episode or something. And I should post it on my page. Sheila Nora really is great. But like, if you can't handle somebody that might have different opinions, I mean, I agree with her like 100% of the time. But I'm just saying she is very strongly opinionated. She is a strongly opinionated woman. So if you're here, you can probably handle that. Oh, auntie dad. Unless you're my husband, I don't think I love you though. It's possible to have a QD scope that mount that holds zero and a setup that compact when it's disassembled, but that Bubba Mauser is not it. That bullet, they did not find the match. Neck was too intact. That's another good point, Edge. Yes, another really good point. There is no, and they tried to say he was like had a neck of steel at first. They tried to say something like the bullet was like that would not happen. And there's so many people like Joe Rogan, so many people that have hunted and killed large livestock with that. I'm sorry, I feel disrespectful. It's horrible. It's so horrible to think about. I just saw the most, it was a freaking photo somebody posted in somebody's community tab. I haven't seen him get shot. I've seen what is allowed on YouTube. I don't have any other kind of social media, and I was grateful for that. I don't want to see that. And my 16-year-old son saw it. Oh, that made me so mad. And like, that's part of what they're doing to us. They're desensitizing us from stuff like that. And then with AI, it's like you don't know if any of it is ever real. Bald nightmare. I agree. Trump has dementia. Do you follow that guy, Epistemic Crisis, who's like the physical therapist that makes videos about frontal temporal dementia? Did you guys see how he didn't know where his wife was on Easter Sunday? Did you guys see that shit? Melania was literally like right. She was like 2 feet at the most from him, and he's like, "My lovely wife, where is she?" And she was right by him. This shit is bad, you guys. That spatial, not knowing what's around him immediately is like a huge dementia thing. Fox News accidentally put up a graphic one time that said Fox is the least trusted news network. Scuba, did they really? That is so funny. Oh, definitely America first, doctor. I think wherever you live, that country should be first. You know what I mean? You should want to take care of your own people. Oh, TWC, how are you? You watch NASA land? That's cool. They landed in the water, right? It was Russian and China and my plumber. Notice they don't attack North Korea. Hash brown oil is boss. Yeah, bald nightmare. Yeah. You notice how certain things are just not talked about at all. And I take this stuff seriously when he's talking about like Greenland and Cuba and Colombia. So are we ever gonna make any progress in our country at all? Or are we just going to be out there imperialism to the max? That's what imperialism is. It's saying my ways are better than yours. I'm going to come take over your country and you're going to live like me and mine. Is that not what's going on? And you can think they need help or whatever. Like, are we helping Cuba right now? That Mari woman I made a video on. I'm sorry, I can't stand her. I can't stand her attitude. And they want to be like, the U.S. isn't doing anything to Cuba, and she's been kind of quiet lately. I think because she finally fucking realized, yes, the U.S. is definitely not letting oil go through there. What is wrong with these people? Like, some people are just so like they don't want to admit the truth. Just want to get drunk and remember my old guards. I'm remembering my father who passed away 2 years now. My friend is going that path of no return. Oh, Jorge, that's the thing about alcohol. Definitely not shaming you, but you've got to. I totally understand turning to it, but you've got to be able to process things. But I get it. My friend that passed away, her death date is coming up, and I can always remember her death day. I can never remember her birthday every year. I feel like such a horrible friend, but like I get it. Trust me. Oh, this world. 23 years ago was the same problem with Iraq, and you know how that turned out. Right, Talix? That's what they're saying. Weapons of mass destruction. Hash brown's asking, are you ageist? Definitely not. Jorge drinking only makes it worse. Work out, bro. Rhett, that's very good advice. Thank you for saying that, Rhett. Um, that's really, really good advice. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to shame you because, like, it's not like I haven't drank myself. My sorrows. But if that's what you do every time you have you need to cope with something, it's not healthy, which I know from experience. History repeats itself. Another draft dodging Republican scuba side. Right? Oh, thank you, bald nightmare. Algebra do be convenient. Moonshiner said Bush dodged a shoe. Trump dodged a bullet. Oh my gosh. Vanderbeek just croaked. Oh, right. That was so sad, and his family's, like, raising millions of dollars. They just bought a mansion that was worth, like, 3.4 million. I'm sorry, that was my Southern mother always told me growing up, "Do not speak ill of those deceased, not here to defend themselves." Sound advice. Oh, Michael, yes. Your mom sounds like a good person. Cash Pop and have a good night. Yeah, I don't like her, but that was fucked up. Bald said, yes, right. Cash Pop and have a good night, Michelle said. Next thing you know, the files are going to be a distraction from the war. It's ping pong. Oh my gosh, Rhett, right? What's up with the Melania thing? I already talked about this on my last live, but I really do think it's the Michael Wolff, the biographer, mentioned that particular email she brought up. What? There should be an age limit for government positions. I completely agree, Talix. Yes. Nobody only uses imperial anymore, Ghost said. Hi, Andrew. Alex, I do you one better. How about we criminalize lobbying? Oh my gosh, that would be so amazing. No more boomers in politics. Sloth said, slothful. I would hope to see my dearly father again one day if God permits it. I think so, Jorge. Near-death experiences. There was a death doula on my Bialik's podcast. I really like her podcast. See, I don't hate all Jewish people. And this woman has been with 1,000 people as they passed, and it was amazing the stuff she was saying. And often the people in the room will see and have these like shared visions. And I've heard of people like they don't want to admit it because like it sounds a little messed up, but like you'll have this like moment of like clarity and like peace that resonates in the room, and like everybody feels it. I think that's part of like the veil being thinner or whatever. And like I definitely believe there's more to us than this like physical body. Trump and Republicans have backed themselves into a corner, Michael said. Yes. Oh, bald, you stop it. My mother died the morning after my 21st birthday. It took a whole year and a half to recover. It's coming up on the 22nd. I hope I'm redeeming myself in her eyes. I wish I could tell her I'm sorry. Rhett, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Rhett. That is so sad. Right after your birthday. That must be really hard for you. So your birthday is April 21st. Am I right about that? I'm so sorry. And I know it sounds cheesy. There's also this couple that lost their daughter, and their whole channel is about like people making connections with them. And I get it because I've lost people. It's like I wish the people I lost would do show me a sign or something, because I'm sure a lot of us have like asked for a sign and we didn't get it or whatever. But to see people with these stories that are just like, I don't think these are coincidences. That really helps. And I really do believe that like she okay, you need to read. You want your eulogy written by a physicist. Will you please do that sometime in the next few weeks, Rhett? You want your eulogy written by a physicist, even though I believe in God and a higher power. It's definitely not like an atheist thing, but it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever read, and it's helped me through so many periods of grief. And it's basically saying your loved one isn't not here anymore. They're just less orderly. The energy doesn't die. And it's really sweet. I'm gonna start crying if I don't stop talking about it. It is no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Yes, and oh, hush, kitties. You're so sweet. Thank you. Hi, which bread is healthier, sourdough or dildo? Dild. Oh, it's there. I was like, dildo? What kind of bread is that? See how I am? My mom left when I was 6, and her family called me at age 23 to ask me to take her off of life support. Oh my gosh, bald. Wow. I I don't even know how to answer that. That is wild. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. I wasn't super close with my grandpa. I mean, I loved him a lot, but I planned his funeral and I wasn't talking to my dad at the time, and he decided to hop on a plane and come to the funeral I planned, so I didn't go, and that always made me mad. Now I know that there's certain accounts of Jews protesting against the state of Israel. The problem is it's not doing anything. Right, right. Okay, so Abby Martin, she was on the street. Hey, Lone Wolf, how are you? She was interviewing people in Jerusalem. And I know that it wasn't literally 100% of people there think these things, but what they were saying was sick. They said they wanted them all to die. They didn't care if the kids died. They're evil. A lot of them are. How could you make sense of everything going on any other way other than like a lot, and most of them think it's justified. And you have not said anything about them being pet. Okay, I need to read Padre Pio's prophecy. I'm so sorry, you guys. I really like talking to you guys. Sorry for your loss too, Slothful said to Jorge. Some people never recover from loss. That's why I sometimes think to never get close to people because the loss can be so heavy, right, Mr. Money? Or like when we lost our dog. Oh my God. And we're like, never again, because she was an English Mastiff and she died. She wasn't even 6 years old. Now we have another English Mastiff now. We just can't help it. They're such great dogs. They really are like the sweetest. They're just the best. They're seriously big teddy bears. But, my father died at age 67, went to cardiac arrest while doing dialysis. Shit hurts. Oh, but Jorge. I'm so sorry. And he was like in a medical setting and they couldn't even help him. I'm so sorry. You should have seen 21 grams, Talix said. But yeah, Mr. Money, when they say like time makes it easier, I don't know, man. I'm not trying, once again, I'm not trying to get any pity. I'm just trying to like connect with you guys. I know I'm not the only person that feels like this, but every time I think of my friend who died at the age of 34, it hurts just as bad. I don't, I feel like I grieve for her every day and I've just gotten used to it. And I'm like, it was worth it. It was worth to have her in my life for several years and to have her friendship because it's like, I would have rather loved and lost and not loved at all. But yeah, I know what you mean. It does make me think, gosh, if I ever get close to somebody like that again, which I'd love to, like friendship wise, like it would just be so hard. And oh my gosh. I just saw this lady that said she held her friend while she died, and it was like this older woman she had made friends with, and like she didn't know she had cancer, and then all of a sudden she called her in the hospital, like I'm at death's door, and she said she regretted never saying I love you to her because it just felt weird saying I love you to like an elderly woman that's not your mom or your grandma, and that's like one reason why I've lost so many people. That's why I say I love you to everybody because like I sincerely mean it. I don't want to say it like I just like, but like you just oh my gosh, you just never know. But yeah, I wasn't there to hold his hand or saw his last breath where he said, "I'm sorry, Jorge." I just am weird. I don't know, Josh. I've had a lot of dental work and like this sinus surgery twice right here. And I know what you mean because sometimes I'm like, but I think it might be good because I mean, I do have more wrinkles than what shows up with my bright light, but I think it might help with wrinkles the way I like don't move that much. And then I just have fucked enamel. Hi Adam, how are you? Um Oh gosh, Lone Wolf, hello, my friend Michelle said. Are you a ventriloquist? No, Josh. Israel are not the good guys, Bob said. Um, Talix, you want to see a cult turn to Lakewood, New Jersey? What's there? I think she doesn't open her mouth because of her teeth. No, like I you guys need to come. I have great teeth in Kentucky. I'm not trying to be mean to anybody. I'm just saying. I had enamel. Fake veneers put on my 4 front teeth. The dentist said they were permanent ceramic. It was temporary laminate. He had, like, drilled down on the top of my front teeth to, like, make it so it would adhere better because I had nothing going on. I just told him my teeth were sensitive, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, you have, like, no enamel left. You must have sucked lemons too much." I did. I eat a lot of lemons growing up. I don't think that's what it was. I think it's, like, all my autoimmune issues. And this was years and years ago when dentists were still saying you can't regrow your enamel. You can. Nanohydroxyapatite, xylitol. There's a lot of stuff that can help with that, but nanohydroxyapatite is like clinically proven to regrow enamel. And they don't have it in any toothpaste here in our for-profit dental system here in America. They don't sell toothpaste with nanohydroxyapatite. Everywhere where they have socialized medicine, they do. You know how fucked up that is? And like some people are blessed with beautiful white enamel. Just some people just aren't. And when you age, unless you have veneers, your teeth aren't as bright white as they were when you were younger. So, and I remember thinking that, like, I'm going to be an example for other people who are like shy about their teeth or know their teeth don't look as good as they used to or whatever. Is like teeth are teeth. And as long as mine don't hurt, and I do brush and floss every day, um, the imperfections on my teeth I couldn't care less about because I'm just glad I don't have to deal with like the stuff I used to. And I really feel for anybody that deals with dental issues. Purple or like opalescent, like multicolors, Marion, like opal. That's what I like. I like iridescent. I've never seen somebody talk so much and so fast without opening their mouth. Josh is fascinated by my mouth. Um, Happens when you lose teeth. Yeah, I had a bad root canal done by a dentist when I was 10, and I went back. My mom took me back to him within the week. It still hurts. It hurts every time I bite down. And he's like, "Oh no, 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 you're slobbering on the bite wings. I can't read your X-rays." That turned into the tooth cracking in half when I was a waitress, 19 years old, eating ice at work, and all of a sudden I have like a half of my tooth, and it was black. Black, black, black. I've never experienced anything like it. And I felt so disgusting because at this point I hadn't had but one cavity my whole life, you know? I had no idea that tooth was dead. It shouldn't have been a root canal, yada yada. Turned into years of me telling dentists I have pain every time I bite, still with the root canal tooth that we paid $3,000 for, mind you. Mortensen Dental. I hate chain dentists. Don't ever go to a chain dentist, guys. Seriously. Or if you do to like get a cleaning, whatever, don't let them do any work on you without getting a second opinion. They're the worst. And what was I gonna say? Tons of dentists say I say this because I think somebody else might be helped by this information. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's showing up on x-rays. I threw a fit like a literal toddler, kicking my feet like a toddler to one dentist who was a family friend. Remove this tooth. Please, it's hurt me for years. And he did. And he said it was calcified into my jawbone due to chronic infection. And if that was the only remedy for it, I was right. He tried to get me to take antibiotics. I was like, no, no, I'm not kidding. This was also when I was mercury poisoned by oh, that was literally the mercury. Okay, there was amalgam. Oh my god, you guys. Padre Pio's prophecies. My poor dad, I hope I was going to give him a kidney, but his condition was bad heart failure, diabetes, liver cirrhosis. Oh, Jorge. Jorge, honey, as a parent, I'm sure your dad would have rather you keep both of your kidneys if he was in that poor of health, you know? And I'm not trying to, I hope you know I'm trying to be as nice as possible. I'm just trying to give it to you straight. I'm really sorry. At least you know she isn't lying through her teeth, Josh. It's just that my teeth aren't super white. I don't think I don't get it sometimes. I haven't seen a top tooth yet. See, my grandma talked like that, and it honestly, I thought it was annoying. Sometimes I would be like, her bottom teeth show when she talks, and I don't like that. And I'm like more a judgmental younger person. And here we are. I didn't know till I did YouTube that when I talk, only my bottom teeth show. Oh, thank you, Bob. Still a much prettier face than Laura Loomer. I don't Yes, I'll agree with that. Laura is one of those good examples of like you get all this work done, you actually make yourself she's aging herself. Yes, moving forward. The veneers fell off. The temporary laminated veneers fell off when I was pregnant. So I couldn't get any dental work done. And so me having to walk around even though my top teeth don't show that was so horrible because I had these like pitted things at the top of my teeth, but it wasn't black. It was just obvious pits and below your teeth, your dentin. It's not yellow, but it's not white. You know what I mean? It was like clear. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you guys. Learned losing close ones. Growing up as an adult, I hold everyone at arm's length. Arto, sorry. I'm so sorry, you guys. I totally understand it, but please also try to think like you only have so much life to live, you know? But I mean, I understand it. Trust me. 'Cause I'm like, when these dogs go, do I want to go through this with another dog? Like, all I know is when I went down to Kentucky, a woman said, y'all from Jersey, can you rap? Talix, I think you told me that before. People commenting on your teeth just don't agree with your politics. You're 10 out of 10 in my book. Oh, slothful. That's so sweet. They are now starting to do human trials on medication that makes you regrow teeth. Yes, Bald, I saw that. They're using like stem cells in Japan. Oh my gosh. That's cool, Arto. Lil Lavender. No, I do burn incense every day. You still have a much prettier face than Laura Loomer. My father became an alcoholic after military service. Oh, Jorge. So that's how he had his issues. Gosh. All the sacrifices made by veterans and their family. I'm so sorry. Focus on Jesus. The world has nothing for you, warning humanity. Yeah, warning humanity. That's good advice. Yeah, that's what they said about my jaw. They lie so much moving forward. So these companies are ridiculous. Oh, I'm glad that you didn't like I'm assuming you didn't get any expensive treatment. Yeah, I had one tell me I had like 10 to get, and I was like, what? And then I went to he's like, there's one tooth I want to work on for you. And I was like, thank you. That was the guy that fixed my front teeth too. Thank you, Nick, for sending that cute makeup brush. What was it called? Makeup brush. I don't need anything. My father is gone. Even with money, I won't bring my father back. Right, Jorge. Well, this life is temporary, if that gives you any solace. Like, I really do believe, like, I know it's like sounds really nihilistic, but it's like it doesn't have to be like that. Like, that epitaph on graves that say, I was once like you are now, and one day you're going to be like me. I think about that a lot. You know, like think about all the people who like when you're going through some shit, like think about all the people who were upset over the same thing that are like gone already, you know? Do you think they would tell you if they could tell you something? They'd be like, live your life. And that's what most people say that people in hospice regret the most is like not living and doing the things that they wanted to do. Please don't ever drink Red Bull. You blow a gasket. You could be an auctioneer, BH. That is so funny. Joshua, I like Tai Chi. I am more flexible in my older years. I why that's so funny to me. I used to not be that flexible, and like every girl around me could like do all this shit, and I couldn't. Jesus died so you could live, Steven said. Ken from Toronto, Canada. What are some of your favorite movies? Oh, I don't watch movies, Ken. Oh my gosh, I seriously can't watch movies. The last time I went to the movie theater was to watch that George Bush movie. How long ago was that? That was like 20, 18 years ago, 17 years ago. And don't ask me why it was just like nothing else to watch. I wasn't like wanting to watch that. French braids with a good look for you. Oh, thank you, Stone Pop. Like I said, I like Tai Chi, Joshua. So anybody knows you have any mobility issues, if you want to try to ease your body into exercise, I highly recommend to look at some Tai Chi videos here on YouTube. Damn, we're all assholes. Hi, Mike. I'm going to read Padre Pio's prophecy so we can get on to the next topic because now that I'm fired up, I really want to talk to you guys about the perverted women. January 28th, 1950. This is word for word. I'll tell you when I stop reading like word for word quotes. Keep your windows well covered. Do not look out. Light a blessed candle, and which one will suffice for many days. Pray the rosary, read spiritual books, make acts of spiritual communion, also acts of love, which are so pleasing to us. Pray with outstretched arms or prostrate straight on the ground in order that many souls be saved. And this is something that the woman that I was telling you guys about, who's unfortunately slipped into addiction since she made this video on this 3 years ago, she made a good point. Like, your open palms are like energy receptors, and it does make more sense to pray. Like, I know some people do that, but I'm not trying to make fun, but you know what I mean? It makes so much more sense than going like this, doesn't it? Do not go outside the house. Provide yourself with sufficient food. The powers of nature shall be moved, and a rain of fire shall make people tremble with fear. Have courage. I am in the midst of you. Um, then February 7th, 1950, I don't know why it was a few days later. Take care of the animals during these days. I am the creator and preserver of all animals as well as man. I shall give you a few signs beforehand, at which time you would place more food before them. And you're supposed to like shut up all the windows, like put your animals like in a barn and like make sure they can't see outside. I will preserve the property of the elect, including the animals, for they shall be in the. I think I remember reading that. It also, the elect is mentioned in Revelations. So he's saying, like, the people that believe, basically, including the animals, for they shall be in the midst of sustenance. I'm sorry, in the need of sustenance afterwards as well. Let no one go across the yard, even to feed the animals. He who steps outside will perish. Cover your windows carefully. My elect shall not see my wrath. Have confidence in me, and I will be your protection. He's like God is speaking through him. I'm sorry, I should have said that. Your confidence obliges me to name. My handwriting is so messy. I'm sorry. I can't read my own handwriting when I'm like writing fast. Um, Have confidence in me, and I will be your protection. Your confidence obliges me to come to your aid. The hour of my coming is near, but I will show mercy. A most dreadful punishment will bear witness to the times. My angels, who are to be the executioners of this work, are ready with their pointed swords. And this is where I start to sum it up because I was like, and I'm not just saying, it's a lot of the same thing. Like, believers will be okay. Don't look outside. Non believers will perish. Even people who mock any of this, you will be killed instantly. Angels will annihilate you. Bad weather that starts with thunderbolts, earthquakes for 2 days. It will begin on a very cold night. Uninterrupted rain of fire for days. And this is to prove God is real and all powerful. The the night will be cold, wind will roar, and then the thunder will start, the thunderbolts. And he says, beg the mother for protection. Poisonous gases will be all over the earth. Anybody who breathes it will die. Satan will triumph, but the fire and earthquake will cease. Angels will descend from heaven and spread peace. Survivors will be experiencing immeasurable gratitude. And the maker of this podcast was talking about how in Revelations it talks about 1,000 years of peace. And this kind of sounds like maybe that's it. And he goes on and on about like praying the rosary and brings up Mother Mary a lot because he's Catholic, kind of insinuating that 1950 is like the beginning of the end, which is pretty interesting. A lot to say about that. It does kind of seem like around 1950 something, I tend to think, and I am grateful birth control is available. I'm not 100% against birth control. I just think it's undeniable that when birth control came onto the scene, a lot of stuff changed and it wasn't all for the better. I am still not saying, like, there's so many women, that's our only option for so many things. So I don't ever fault a woman for going to that, or, for using it as its intended purpose, like birth control. Basically, everything in the world is filled with evil. Their sinful pride, the way people dress, especially in the summertime. He said that is are all indications of how, like, everything is getting more evil. Oh my gosh, can you imagine all the stuff that could, if he was alive now, the stuff he would see, how everybody's turned against each other, how people are, like, more racist and misogynistic and, misandrist and all these things than ever, it seems like. And then I think, well, people, it was just polite not to voice these things at a certain point, right? And so I'm going to sum up how I feel about all of this, and we can be done with the subject or whatever you guys want. Padre Pio, I really do believe that enough people were, like, touched by him, and there was enough evidence that he probably did have some kind of gifts. I think all people, most people, could have if they devoted themselves the way that he did. And I'm not saying necessarily as a friar and then a priest, just to honing in your your abilities to spend a life, like, focusing on education. You should learn about the world outside of you, of course, but also, like, the spiritual side of life, taking that really seriously. And, like, some people, I think babies and children and animals have special abilities, and it makes sense that, like, sometimes adults, they keep that ability, or they can get it back. And I think, why aren't there more people? I'm sure there are people out there, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's people out there performing miracles. Can't we go, like, study these things and verify it? And if there's less than, because I don't feel like there's anybody walking around with stigmatas and stuff, is that because all the people that did it before were faking it? Or is it something to do with, like, the calcification of our pineal glands and how everything is just, so I do think that, like, yeah, it's possible he saw something, but with his religiosity, and I'm not downing that, I'm just saying as a fact, he grew up so religious that he's going to add that flair to it, but that's no reason to not pay attention to it. So then everybody's, like, kind of wondering, like, when will this be? There's no exact time. If you look up this Padre Pio 3 Days of Darkness, you'll find videos talking about how it's like every freaking year for the last few years. You know what I mean? 2024, 2025, 2026. But, like, all we know is that there will be definite signs. Did you guys hear about the meteorites? Usually there's, like, literally one a year, and it's been like seven in a month that's hit our country. And I'm not necessarily saying that's a sign. I'm just saying, when it talks about, like, fire coming down from heaven, and I don't think that that's, like, necessarily a huge sign. But that was super interesting to me. And if anybody has anything to add to it, like always, if I ever talk about anything, especially in, like, the comments that will stay under the video. The revolution will not be televised, the revolution will be live, Greg said. That's funny. I see what you did there, Greg. How are you, Greg? Did I say hi to you? They say you ain't a man when you're exposing your heart, then they say you insane until it tears you apart, and then it cuts you so deep and they can tell by the scars. What is that from, Talix? Is that a song? Because I don't know it. That's a good song, but yeah, it's unfortunate. We've talked about that a lot on my channel. Hi, Ryan. How are you? His divine shadow, please marry me. I'm already married. I don't believe in polygamy. Dylan, Jesus is the everlasting Father and the mighty God. Dylan, I think it's possible. Talix, he started saying that the chemical imbalance is the reason that my brain ain't connected to accomplishments associated with moving on in life, and I pass the things to my heart that my heart cannot contain. His divine shadow said, "Shut up about Jesus." That's so funny. His divine shadow, "Shut up about Jesus." Shot to the T. It's been a while. How are you? So the happiness can't sustain, Alex said. Thank you, John. Jews are, to be honest, the best, way ahead in thought than rest of the world. Mostly the men research and the women work. That's equivalent to considering whole world house for women and men go to Jews. That's not necessarily true, Abe. I saw this Jewish community where all the women work outside of the house. This Hasidic community. I'll try to find it for you, Abe, if you want me to. They went, I think it was in New Jersey. I may be wrong about this, but it's one of these places where it's like there's more Jewish people than not there, it seems like. And he literally did a street interview. This person that made the channel about it, I can't remember, like usual. And he asked men, they live off government assistance, first of all. They all have like 11, 14 kids. I'm not kidding. And the woman is working outside of the home, and they admit to taking government assistance. That's just interesting. Everybody wants to talk stuff about, like, Black women, I don't mean to be part of it, but it's just funny to me, like, black women get thrown in, like, they're the biggest welfare queens. Am I the only one living in this life? Am I on a different timeline than the rest of people? Because I see black women, I know there are some black women living off welfare, but my experience has been mostly they're, like, always working. They're some of the hardest workers. They're the most educated people in our country, and they wanna call them welfare queens. They literally are the most educated, they have the most degrees. And don't say something about useless degrees, okay? That's what something somebody says that doesn't have one. I don't have a college degree either, but depression by Dax, Talix said. When I ask a woman to live with me, she will only do it if I marry. Otherwise, she's taking my most valuable possessions out of my home or divorcing me to take my stuff. Dennis, if you're still in here, okay. So first of all, my father-in-law, who was a great man, worked his whole life as a pilot, built a great life for himself, had a woman who was half his age, wasn't even living with him, wasn't even engaged to him. Because of a handwritten will, she got most of his stuff, even though she literally didn't live. You need to be careful who you interact with, okay? Like any woman that is a black widow that's out to get you and stuff, she will find a way to do it. And honestly, I think women are smart that they're not going to go live with somebody and give them the wife treatment before getting the ring. That's what I would tell my daughter. But I do understand too, wanting to live together before getting married. I do. I would be open minded enough that that's what you really want to do. But I would recommend you could spend time together and like live together in little short spurts and see if it's really a horrible idea. But too many men get too comfortable, and then their woman has one or two babies and has to beg him to marry her when they've already made a more serious commitment, in my opinion. With children tie you together for a lifetime. Hi, Wilton. You were already in here, weren't you? I was born and raised there. They had the welfare organization. Are you talking about New Jersey? That's the town where he went to. If you only knew the history, Talix. Let me see. I missed one of your comments. Lakewood, New Jersey. Really, I think. Okay, I'm so glad that you're in here. So do you agree with what I said, Talix? Because you know, if I'm wrong, tell me. On the other hand, world is stuck on make me a sandwich. Thank you, Lucky. This is why men like me don't need a sexual relationship or relationship ever, Dennis said. Yeah, no, I understand this world is crazy. It just makes me sad for people that want a companion because there are good people out there, but like I totally understand too, not wanting to men and women. Everything is going to shit. I hate to be so negative, but like I'm really into like the dating stuff because I have two teenage sons, and I just think about even though I'm not into dating, you know what I mean? I watch a lot of videos that like talk about the dynamics between men and women, and talk of what you know, Will, and said, "Hi, Leon. How are you? Their marriages are not recognized by the state." Talix, really? Is that part of how they get so much government assistance? Be right. What am I wrong about? I just, when you say that, it's really hard to know what you're talking about. And if you want to correct me on anything, feel free to just actually correct me and tell me what it is. It's the wrong world we live in, Dennis said. Yeah, therefore they are unwed mothers and qualify for all government programs, Section 8, EBT, so on. Talix, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Like, I couldn't go to college for free anymore after I married my husband, which I think is kind of ridiculous and stupid, you know? Um, the income we had at the time. I'm so sorry. I did not write down that it was somewhere in Arizona that this happened where two teachers from one school have recently been let go of. Mhm. They groomed and raped. That's what we need to start calling this, okay? When somebody's 16 years old and there's a freaking 45-year-old woman, it makes me want to gag. And a 27, the ages shouldn't matter. But just when I see this woman 10 years my senior, almost 8 years my senior, it like is preying on like a 16, 17, 18-year-old boy, it is so sick to me. I couldn't imagine looking at somebody my son's age and being sexually attracted to them and actually being able to follow through with the sexual relationship. That is so disgusting to me. And these people, this is more common. Somebody even said it when they were covering the story. 80% of sexual perpetrators are men. Maybe they aren't. Maybe there are a lot more sexual predators that are women. We just don't get in trouble for it. When we get caught, we don't get charged for it. These women groomed this boy. They bought him gifts. They gave him like $600 at a time, alcohol, weed, let him borrow cars. His mom and dad expressed disappointment that he might not get scholarships. They're part of the problem too. His mom knew about this. I think his mom should be charged with something like child neglect or endangerment or something. And like people, the age of consent is 16. When it comes to a teacher and a student, that is illegal. That is wrong. It was so ridiculous. You guys, if you're interested in this at all, Kyla. I really like her. Kyluh is how she spells her name. That's just her name. Her channel's name is Kyla. She does really good deep dives on a lot of these kind of like more popular subjects, stories, and some like reality TV stuff. And she had these text messages that were sent to Haley Beck, the 27-year-old. Angela Berlocka is a 47-year-old and had been working there for 25 years. What I think about is how many other boys did she prey on? Don't tell me that was the only one, because we all know when we were growing up, there was one guy everybody knew was a fucking pervert, and he ended up getting a 19-year-old pregnant when he was like 50 or 60 something, like right after I left that high school. It's so sick. And, and I'm not saying age gap relationships can never work, but it is like so the power imbalance. This is wrong when it's somebody from authority. I don't care if that boy doesn't realize it at the time. I've read comments from men that I think were being sincere. I know it could be wrong. Take it with a grain of salt. It's the internet, but it's like they don't think it at the time. This one guy said it. He's like, I had sex with an older woman when I was a teenager. I thought it was great at the time. And now every time I think about it, I feel disgusted. And he described the feeling that you feel when you are assaulted, where you want to like shower it off. You can't get yourself clean of it. You feel like damaged. That was so horrible. So, like, how many men are walking around? I know so many men I've gotten close to that were preyed upon by older women. None of them were charged either. And I do think it's a sign of the times. I do think that, yeah, there probably used to be way more male perpetrators than women. And with everything going on the last several decades, women are becoming sexual predators. It's just like so. I don't want to be like it's against our nature. That was about was what's coming out of my mouth because it's so sick. It's like, but like I do. I'll admit it. This is part of like the internalized misogyny I still have. I still think it's worse when a woman does something like this. I think it's horrible when a man does something like this and he should be suffering repercussions, but for some reason, it like, it's like even worse when a woman does it. And I don't want to like give men excuses for their testosterone and everything, but like, oh my gosh, this just really grinds my gears if you can't tell. And the media will label it stuff like they got caught having a sexual relationship or an inappropriate relationship. Could you imagine if it was a 16, 17, 18-year-old girl preyed upon by 25 to 27, 45 to 47-year-old teachers? Two teachers in one school. Could you imagine those male teachers just getting let go? And this is the whole point I want to make, you guys. One is related to a TikToker that Haley Beck, her brother is like huge on TikTok. And she, or at least had, a cop as a boyfriend. And this boy, he was texting her. He was what they would do called negging, but that's not really appropriate to say because he was being preyed upon, but it was kind of funny. You kind of had to laugh at it. He was telling her she doesn't have a good body, and, and he's like she was like all upset, and he's like, you have a cop as a boyfriend and you're doing something illegal with me, a student. He was calling her out, right, to her face through a text. And she's like, damn, like these women are so, it's like two teenagers talking to each other. That's what the deal is with these stunted women. You can be a professional. You can be a respected member of the community. You can be a fucking teacher for a quarter of a century and still for some reason want some child to stick their penis in you. I don't get it. I'm sorry, I don't get it at all. This is a sickness that needs to be dealt with appropriately. And this is what my point I want to make to all you guys listening to me right now. People want to say it's unfair. It is unfair. I agree with that. Women don't get the same treatment in the judicial system. That isn't fair. It's not fair. But this is why, and I'm not making excuses, but people think it's because this is a gynocentric society. No, it's not. We still can't talk about our periods, okay? It's not a gynocentric society. What this is a misogynistic society that infantilizes women. And when you infantilize women and make them constantly with every fucking thing, say they're less than men, they're less strong than men, they're less capable than men, they're less intellectual than men, then when they do the same disgusting crimes toward children, they might not get the same punishment because we think they're just a little lady. It's that infantilization, that misogyny that comes back to bite us all in the ass. And like that's the heart of the problem. There's just so many people expressing like, oh my gosh, women just get away with everything because we're like this protected class of society. That is not it, okay? We walk around getting preyed upon. So many boys do too. But I'm saying every single woman has a story. Every single one. Have you seen that woman that goes around talking to high schools and she asks everybody to stand up in the auditorium that's experienced sexual assault. Every single person almost stands up every time. And then she asks them to sit down if they didn't report it. And almost every single person sits back down. We don't really understand. People want to say, I get it. It's horrible. I'm a mother of sons. When a woman lies about a man, I get it. That's horrible. She should be thrown in jail for that too. It's not the majority of the time. It's not the majority of accusations. The majority of the actual shit that happens doesn't even get reported. You feel like so flustered and you're constantly thinking, well, I shouldn't have been there. Well, what was she wearing? And all that stuff goes through your head like naturally. You're just like conditioned to think that as a woman. And then as a man, you're conditioned to think any man would have wanted it. I would have liked it when I was that age. And that's part of the problem is the sick men egging it on. But I am seeing a tide change because I remember years ago when something like this would come out and like reading Facebook and just getting so incensed over the men that would make comments like that. And honestly, it seemed like most men commenting. I'm not saying most men felt like that. The loud minority is always what you hear, right? But it's like I see the tide changing, and finally, men are like, "Wow, what the hell? This is wrong. This happened to me, and it wasn't conducive to like a good childhood." We need to let young people experience life with other young people, and like I just couldn't imagine um the way they groomed him. There's so many charges. They gave him alcohol and weed. Why are they not locked up just for that? Or the one that did that? Why is that? How is this? What is going on? Are they trying to show us that like that's part of what Padre Pio was saying. This world is going to hell in a handbasket. Everything's becoming more evil. And I know that sounds like kind of like dramatic, but that's how it feels. I'm gonna try to catch up. I would recommend to any young man to not live in a blue state when they fall in love. The laws are stacked against you. Women are incentivized to stay single. Family court heavily favors the female. Larson, Kentucky is the first state to go to 50-50 custody by default. And now this is like divorce cases. I'm assuming it would be the same thing when anybody's like petitioning for custody if you're not married. But Kentucky was the first state to go 50-50. And I thought that was great. And there's only like 7 or 8 states that have followed suit since then. And I know that's just custody, but they're more fair than they used to be. But I understand there's like alimony is only in a few states and most of it is like, okay, this is what your house is worth. You split it down the middle. I know sometimes but they have more fair, like, calculations than they used to, but I still think it's skewed towards women still, for sure. And part of that is just, like, the stereotype of the woman being the better parent. Maybe that is true a lot of the times, but how can you say all of the time, you know what I mean? When children's lives are involved. Penny went to Arizona, Sheldon often teased her for it. Monroe, are you talking about that show? I never watched that show. Dennis, my family lives in Fordsville. Fordsville. I don't think I've ever heard of that. I'm in Mansfield, Ohio, but I was raised in Indiana. I was born in Sullivan, Missouri. Oh, that's cool, Dennis. I lived in southern Indiana. I was born in Louisville and I lived in like southern Indiana, Southern California, and southern Florida, and central Florida. Oh, Jorge, thank you. You are a very pretty and stunning woman. Good night. I think I drank too much. Oh, Jorge, I hope you feel better. Oh, Michael sent me $2. Thank you, Michael. That's so nice. Oh, I know, I talked for a bit. My ninth grade science teacher was in her late 20s. She used to come to school in fishnet stockings and drove us guys crazy. The YouTube review. See, women like that. I found this one woman, she's like a 35-year-old virgin, and I do believe her, but she's the biggest. I was this close to making a comment. I was like, man, you might be a virgin, but you're just as big of an attention whore as anybody else. I thought that she was fun to listen to, and I subscribed to her, and then I watched a few of her shorts, so she's like, I'm like, okay, okay. Miss Virgin. I'm gonna capitalize off being a virgin. And then it turns out she's like a Nepo baby and her rich dad. She lived on trust funds until recently, and her rich dad really instilled, which good for you. I I think there's nothing wrong with that. Good for you. You didn't have a hysterectomy because of high risk HPV when you were 38 like me. I'm sincerely glad for people to have like a good solid that's what it takes for a woman to not be promiscuous. You need a good father that gives you attention and a good example of a man that's not just trying to get in your pants. And even dads like mine who knew men don't usually, my dad would say this to me often. I don't know why men don't usually treat women like humans until they have a daughter. And then they really realize. And then that's why it's like, but he would say things too, like he knows not all men are like constantly trying to have sex, especially when you're younger, like, like 12, 13 years old. Nowadays it's different, but like he let me go out with my friends, and he's like, "I trust you're gonna do the right thing, because I know I was scared to death." And anyways, yeah, we had a teacher, she was, like, in her 50s still wearing, like, leather boots and, like, mini skirts. Oh, fine, like, that's what I'm saying, like, I couldn't imagine. Okay, I will admit, when I get catcalled nowadays, there's a slight feeling that's like, "I still got it." But that's once or twice a year, that's enough for me. I don't need to be wearing cute outfits in front of a bunch of what I know to be hormonal teens. It's our job as middle-aged people and older people to lead them, to guide them, to know what it's like to be young with your hormones raging and to not take advantage of that. Oh my God. Like that's what we should be doing. And we need to be able to have open conversations, like it's embarrassing the way people I saw this one lady that was on that Body Garage. I don't follow that channel, but the shorts popped up and like she was like a sexual health expert or something like that. And she's basically saying it is true. Not sexualizing children, okay? Because some doofus in the comment section actually thought she was saying that, but it's like we all come from this act. All children that we know to be the most pure, joyous beings on this planet, they come from this act, and we've made it like ew, yucky, gross. But like it shouldn't be like that. And that's why I tell my kids like the best intimacy you'll ever have is with the person that you love the most. And it really is worth it. I'm not saying like don't ever have sex until you're married because that would be hypocritical. But it's like, man, we need to, and you need to can't just have that one talk with your kid one time. You need to reinforce that stuff. Kentucky has too much drugs and sorcery and abusers, Kira said. It's unfortunate, but yes, there's a lot of drugs, harmed a lot of communities, and it's extremely sad. But there's still tons of really good, hardworking people. Dennis, I agree, Larson. I'd rather be a prosthetic doll, Dennis said. Larson said, oh yeah, would recommend any young man not to live in a blue state. Hopefully, what we see is a tiny minority, Anthony said. True, DH said, Dennis, I'm sure that's your only opinion. LOL. Plopping sloppies. Larson, I recommend young women to go to Japan or Korea to meet a woman. Young men to go to Japan or Korea and meet women not exposed to other American BS. They are more likely to be happy and calm. I don't know about that, Larson. I don't know. It seems okay. So if you plan on picking up and moving to the place with the woman and making your entire life her culture and her country, I think it might be able to work better than if you're going to bring them back to America where most people turn into Americans. You know what I mean? And there's plenty. I homeschool my kids, or I homeschool them to a certain point. Only one is homeschooled right now. And like there are plenty of women that want to be good wives that are here. I promise you. There are all like super strictly religious if that's not what you are. But I do understand it's definitely few and farther between. And there's more and more women like this. What's their faces? These two teachers, Kayla Beck Haley Beck and Angela Berlocca. There's more and more women like that. When people say, "Oh, I wish women were more like grandmas, or we could go back into the day." And it's like, as a woman, I can't help but think that means you wish that women didn't talk back and were more in fear of being slapped around like the honeymooners to the moon and back, Alice, like that kind of stuff. And I don't, but I do think there is some of it is like, no, they want like women to be ladies, right? It's not just that. It's like seeing women like celebrate having an abortion. I am pro-choice now, but you know what I mean. Seeing women, um, whether or not you're gonna be a mother, we're not supposed to there's a reason why so many people benefit from having a woman around and why men tend to get remarried when their wife dies and it's the opposite for a woman. It's like it greatly benefits you to have a woman, a good woman. And I know there's some bad ones, God, but it just makes me sad that there's some you hear the story about a lot of people, they think they found a more submissive woman. I think that's fair to say what you were describing, and they're not. They take advantage of them, and then you've got a child that's like in another country, possibly. John, not for every kid. The men are students of religion and don't work in Lakewood. They have their own police and EMTs. They suck the tax money dry and pay off politicians in the area. Talix, that's so interesting. That's so funny. See, that's what I love. I don't believe I think there's coincidences that happen, yeah, but, like, I think a lot of things are like synchronicity, signs of synchronicity is like a sign you're on the right track, and you're on the right path, and like that, me bringing up I don't know where it was in New Jersey. What are the odds that somebody that's, like, from there was one of the, like, 30 some people in my chat, out of all the places in the world, you know what I mean? I like to think you can find locally sourced decent people, Larson. Locally sourced! It's like talking about beef. Larson is upset women were complaining that he doesn't clean or shower and thinks that's sexist. Oh, popping. Popping, you're funny, but let's not go after anybody else in the chat. Anthony, just flip the genders and see if it still holds up, I guess. Yeah, I do that a lot too, but I also understand sometimes, I am someone who has both traveled the world and dealt with the problems of having a kid with a nurse in Minnesota, Larson said. I don't know why that's funny. I'm just in a goofy mood. I'm sorry. The problems of having a kid with a nurse in Minnesota. I saw this one near-death experience. The lady was a nurse. It was a COVID shot. She developed this weird thing, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, is that what I got from my flu shot?" But I won't get into that now. Read the book Bluegrass Conspiracy. Okay, Kira. Kira. The cops in on it too, Kara said in the New Jersey place. Sure, Larson, you are literally what an incel is described as. Oh, popping. Now, I've seen many men that seem very capable of getting women that push that. And then I've also seen men that probably were like what you're describing. It takes all kinds. Women weren't allowed to have bank accounts up until the 70s, right, Kira? I know what you mean. Um, and I think like the 1950s housewife, that was a propaganda. Let's like advertisements. It's like a form of propaganda. Women have been in the workforce, especially since after World War II. Most of the women that joined the workforce in World War II didn't leave. And there was never any huge influx of women in the workforce. Like I think some people are under the impression that like every woman stayed at home and then 70 or 80% of us went to work in the 60s. That's not how it happened. Now I do think it's part of the wage stagnation, but it's not women's fault, and they use that to the advantage. They're like, yeah, now women do work more, but there's plenty of single people. But like, I think that's one reason they did start to stagnate the wages. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous when people don't think that we should raise the minimum wage. Now, Lydia, tell us what you really think, Michael said. Cool, Kevin. How are you? Safe fan, white guy, great. Ecoline just heard. Hello. You've had too much espresso. No, Alan. That's how America got Trump twice, Pieface said. Yeah, I wanted him to win, so I'm one of those fools. I was just drinking my coffee like an hour before I got on here. Kira, thank you for sticking up for me. You have some commenters that need to be removed. Yeah, I think I will. I was thinking, honestly, I said it in my head. I'm like, if that guy says one more thing, I'm gonna block him. Oh yeah, and like people like Gummy Bear Fitness saying no one cares. Obviously, you care enough to say you don't care. Don't why don't trolls understand? No one cares. Hey, would you rather watch a tree grow or slip? Okay. The racist jokes, like 2 in a row. I might let 1 slide, but like 2 in a row. Kentucky is where JD Vance wishes he was from. I know. Women are generally ignorant when it comes to educated people. What do you mean by that? Women are generally ignorant when it comes to educated people. That's such a weird sentence. Wink for my birthday. Oh no, Matthew. I've even said that before. I can wink, but I'm not a winker. Miss Anderson. Um, Waylon, I don't know if that's like this is another thing the trolls like to bring up transgenders because they're obsessed with them. And I have nothing against transgenders, but I've just been honest. It kind of sucks as a woman with PCOS, the most common cause of infertility in the country for women, to like not be able to get placement. But if I wanted to be a man, you could change my genders to be a man, but you can't help me balance my female hormones. Like, make that make sense. Hi, doctor. But that has nothing to do with trans people. I think they're kind of preyed on by the medical industry. What does Green Day have to do with all this? I don't understand anything at all. I don't understand what Green Day has to do with it either. Yeah, my dad was 100% right. I am saying my dad is a wild person. Yeah, he told me no man wants to eat beans and rice every day. Show me a beautiful woman, I'll show you a man that's sick of her shit. I heard it all the whole time I was growing up. The world is cooked, and he groomed me to do some stuff when I was 18. I'll make more content on that. I think that will be fun to go into in No man who has a daughter doesn't do awful things. They either do or don't, Caleb said. Right, right. I think that was a I don't think that's true 100% across the board. Especially if you knew what my dad went on to do to me, he doesn't care about. I was just a meal ticket to him as soon as I turned 18. Could you imagine going around the moon? Squirrel said. No, I wish we got like footage of it instead of just pictures. I'm for the new Michael Jackson movie. His nephew is playing him April 24th. I didn't hear about that, Matthew. Um, I'm 39, Amsing. You're complaining about a hot teacher, brother. You see what's going on with medication without parental knowledge, Piposaurus. Okay, that seemed like a weird comment. Hi, Cheyenne. How are you? Shayancho. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to say that. Time people started getting locked up instead of becoming president. Pie face. Yeah, he should be in jail. Oh, Matthew loves his family. That's so sweet, Matthew. Cable dog. What do you actually believe in? What is your truth? Well, that's a pretty loaded question. I think if I had just had to answer that without knowing at all where you want me to go with that, I would start from the beginning. I think we're all born innocent babies and like this world happens to us. And I really do try to remember that like everybody was once a little baby that had a bunch of stuff happen to them. So whatever they are and whatever their opinions are, um, everybody has different experiences that make them them. And I think most people are mostly good. And we are here, spiritual beings living in physical bodies. Issue Eminem, play the Eminem veg said. Matthew from Dallas, Texas. That's nice. How are you? Everybody's biased when it comes to some things, mister. You're biased to thinking I'm biased. Good night, Matthew, if you're still in here. I love Kid Rock Veg said. Because most men don't want to marry widows, Mr. MX said. Um, no, it's the woman making the choice not to get into another relationship where they're doing all or most of the domestic labor for somebody that thinks she's a nag when she asks him to mow the lawn. I'm not talking about my marriage. My husband knows when to mow the lawn. I don't ever have to ask him to do that or take out the trash. But you know what I mean? And I'm not saying every situation, but it's like the statistics are undeniable. When a man loses his wife within 2 years, he's like 80% of the time going to be with another woman. It's the literal opposite for women. When a woman loses her husband, it's like and that's how my grandmas were. It was so sweet. They talked about their late husbands so much. They couldn't wait to see their husband, go be with their husband. They were ready to go be with their husbands. Anyways. Oh, Abraham, that makes me so happy you think this live is intellectual. I don't always have notes like I did tonight. You know what I mean? Like notes to read off of. But I'm trying to do that more because I used to do that like with most of my lives. I actually have a really good, well thought out subjects, substance to the subjects. Good night to you, Matthew said. Good night. Hi, is this an open subject? We were talking about the two teachers, if you're still in here, Crossfade, the two teachers that preyed on the one boy in Arizona, but we're talking about all sorts of stuff. No, Mr. Mark, only my husband can do that. Newport, it's like Rhode Island. Stay in? I just noticed it says stay in that circle. I was like, wait, what does this church say? I know it says, I've been married for 16 years. Hi, Matthew. Hey, Em. Did you ever wonder what fish smelled like before Kamala Harris learned to swim? Catch loves white women. Ugh, I thought I had a drink, but I don't. It's like lag or time traveling in the chat. Oh, I know. I'm sorry. I talk for a bit and then I get way behind, and I'm really sorry about that. I'm trying to work on that. What would be the adjusted minimum wage if it was to be increased? Well, Lone Wolf, they say it should be $30 now, and I understand people are always quick to say the small businesses couldn't pay that. Well, maybe we can make some adjustments. That's not to say that it should. That warehouse fire, some guy got his, and he was an arsonist. Like he had a history of doing that. But in my opinion, I think there might be more incidences like that where people are living out of their cars. Life is so inequitable for them in so many ways that they just like give up or want to start rebellion. And that's like what billionaires are afraid of. And one reason why they're building all their little bunkers and stuff, I really do believe. And they want to like create they want like what they did in Hawaii with those fires. The name of the place is escaping me, but you know what I'm talking about a few years ago, where it's like they literally weren't letting people evacuate, and then like so much fucked up shit because of Lahaina. And in my opinion, it's like there's certain areas where rich people are like actively taking over. Like it might be a decade or two, but like in certain parts of Florida and California, there's like only, and I know it's kind of like that now, but I mean, they're like doing efforts of like land grabs. It's crazy. Pippi Longstockings episode. That's so funny because I really like that book. In the movies. I just got out of the shower. Do you have any more questions about Lakewood? Oh, Talix, if you're still in here, um, I guess not really. Does anybody else have any more questions? It's just like a known thing. I was gonna say, but that's obvious. That's what you've already expressed. Like everybody around there knows they do that. And it's just interesting to me. There's a lot of horrible people, but really there's a lot of good people that just want to like live their life and not get into other people's bullshit. And I think, yeah, the fact that they have white skin helps when it comes to a lot of people. What is the last show you binge watched? Oh, Jeff, I can't even answer that. I've been listening to a lot of Maya Bialik's podcast because I just found it. Hi, Eric, but I know that's not a show. The only shows I've really binge watched, gosh, I really like Seinfeld. Okay, so I watched Sex and the City when I was younger and like I actually liked it. And now that I'm older, I think Sex and the City is a big part of all these problems. That show was so fucked up, and I'm not trying to, like, blame my promiscuity on a show, but, like, cultural influences matter. When I grew up watching Golden Girls, a lot of that stuff's just, like, funny, and there was one episode where Blanche was like, "I don't have sex as much as I say I do. It's a lot of talk, we embellish in the South," or whatever. But, like, that was kind of raunchy and kind of promoted, like, "Just do as thou will," you know what I mean? Like, and I don't wanna, like, shame anybody, but, and it's just interesting how little like protection comes up in these conversations. And that's why when older people have big AIDS rates because they think they don't need to use protection because they don't have to get pregnant anymore. Anyways, um, Sex in the City was horrible for generations of women and men. It affected men too, even if they didn't watch it. The shit in the Sex in the City and the examples, and like people do these deep dives, like where they'll like tear apart like the psychology of like, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry, but Miranda, the redheaded lawyer, and like Steve, the guy that she was like on again off with and ended up marrying, like it's just so interesting when somebody points out, they're like, see how fucked up that is that her friends were like, oh, so what? He cheated on you. So what? Like certain things that happen in that show. Carrie is a fucking nitwit that can't spend money, really horrible financially, so fucking narcissistic, doesn't ever help her own friends out. And it's always about me. And then women grew up wanting to be Carrie, be the main character. Oh gosh. That's what you get for asking me that question, Jeff. Hi, Hago. How are you? Sorry, I don't say your name. Hag Hago Marian. Wage shouldn't be enforced. Oh, catch. I'm sure the billionaires would love that. Educated people sometimes take dumb decisions. Yeah, everybody's just people, right? Clash. Nobody knows everything about everything. Race jokes sign me up. So what did the tortoise say to the hare? You lost, bro. Tortoise say the hare. When you read this, I left it 5 minutes ago. Oh my God, I was gonna say I'm not that bad off, like that far back, but I am. No, Mock, I'm already married. Is the issue of the cutting grass that it doesn't get done or not done on your schedule? Oh no, I said my husband, I'm not just saying this to show off. I've never had to ask my husband. It just seems to be commonplace that women nag to get their husband to participate. And it's a lot of people say help. And I've even had to unlearn that. No, your husband isn't helping you maintain his house. Like I get it when somebody stays at home, they should do most of the housework, right? But, um, it's another thing, like, talking about infantilizing women, like, women's labor, and I know you guys it's piddly stuff, it's still stuff you pay anybody else. Anybody else going grocery shopping, you'd have to pay Instacart or DoorDash or something. Anybody else watching your kids, babysitting your kids, keeping your kids alive, feeding your kids, you would have to pay them money, most likely, unless you're blessed to have a relative or a friend that would do it for free. It is labor, and women's unpaid labor going unnoticed is part of why the birth rate is plummeting, and I think it's but I feel bad when people really do want babies. I don't think it's funny. Then yeah, my one of my eyes is smaller than the others. Then, he was a disgruntled employee. Yes, Dark. He said they weren't paying them enough. Greg, we love you. Make Ireland great again, Fox said. Ireland is already great, mate. Dark said. Are you both from Ireland? Hello from Sacramento, California. Hi, Niner. Bill Gates bought up a lot of farmland. Yes, mine been gone. Direct energy weapon was used in Hawaii. All the blue cars in it burned. Yes, and the blue roofs and stuff. Yes. Oh my gosh, that's super interesting. California fire too. Yes, Taylor. And I heard there's some in Argentina right now. Like that seem, I know there's fires. I get that there's like natural fires. I'm glad I started preparing 10 years ago. Good for you, Fox. And like they in some areas there's worse fires because they stopped doing controlled burns. If you didn't know what that is, they like would do that sometimes to help keep things from going haywire, and it's interesting how we can't there's experts on this stuff, but nobody, like, refers to them, like, defers to them. We need to flatline inflation before we can increase minimum wage, otherwise $30 an hour, we either crush business or replace workers with automation real fast. Yes, Edge of South. That's why I don't think it's so easy as just, like, making everybody pay $30 an hour. I think it should be like I know, that would be really how who would pick what, but the corporation it would have to be making profiting, like, X amount a year before and then it probably might shut down some small businesses if you made them do it, which isn't what we want. What's some other minor bilingual dark? I don't know what you're saying, Angel. I would love to move nowhere and have a life, but nowhere is free to do that. Yes, Michelle, I know. Are you the same person that called me Alanis Morissette earlier? I don't mind if you have 5 kids, just be able to pay for them. There should be a 2 kid limit that welfare will help. Talix, I do understand I know what you mean. I've thought the same thing. I knew one homeschooling family, seriously, one that lived off of like the husband worked, but he purposely worked like a $15 an hour job. There's nothing wrong with that, but he did that on purpose. This big, burly, able-bodied man so they wouldn't make over X amount, and they would like brag. They had kid after kid after kid after kid after kid. It was crazy. They like brag about how much they get in their tax return, but does it go far when you have like 8 kids in a row in like 8 years? Think I'll go to Governor Newsom's mansion and claim squatters' rights. Oh my gosh, get out of my front yard, Newsom. That's funny, Michael. Hi, Will. She talking, she fights a lot. Well, it's the media was made to control us. We're just pawns in a game. Yes, I agree, Will. They were eating, that's Mad Angel said. Good evening from South Korea. Oh, hey, him. How are you in Korea? I'm trying to catch up, guys. The lawyer one and the guy in the hot dog uniform was funny though in Sex and the City. There are some funny episodes for sure. And I just like liked that group together, like I'm not saying I still wouldn't watch an episode if it happened to come on, but everything you do is being controlled by a higher power, Will said. Yeah, I do believe that the simulation theory really resonates with a lot of people because in a way we are. Nagging hits different after long shifts. Yes, Edge, yes. That's definitely like my husband's been working long hours. That's one reason he's not on here as much. And I just like I I can be so I learned years ago to like let him decompress when he comes home. You know what I mean? Ronald McDonald, you think you're cute, don't you? I gotta fight a guy 2 to 3 times my size, any tips? No, I don't have any tips. How is it unpaid labor if he gets half of everything in a divorce? Wonder bucket. That's part of why women do get because they often a man that has a stay-at-home wife, if he's blessed enough to be able to do that, does better in a career than a man that doesn't. That's because of having somebody at home put in work and do your laundry and make all your food and make your lunch. Ideally, if you have a homemaker, she's doing all that for you. That is, once again, a sacrifice, and I know people think it's easy street. If you really are sincerely taking good care of a home and really like, I don't you don't have to cook from scratch every day, but a lot of days, like most days you're making good meals, that's at least a part-time job, at least. And I think a lot of guys that are like, "Oh, it's easy." I'm sorry, guys, but you're the kind of guys that you think the kitchen is clean and you haven't wiped down the countertops, okay? You're like, "Look, the kitchen's clean." And it's like, "But there's crumbs all over the place." But I wouldn't say that. I would just be like, "Yeah, that's great, thanks," and then wipe the crumbs up. But, the divorce stuff is interesting to me, it's just so interesting that people are so focused on that, and I know a lot of us are children of divorce, but, there's once again, there's calculators for that kind of stuff. A lot of y'all that say that kind of stuff are like me. I don't have anything but my house. We If we got divorced next week, we would have to split up the equity in our house. Most of us don't have $500 to rub together, so what are we talking about really here? Let's be real. And my husband would gladly give me half of the equity in the house after raising 3 of his kids. Yeah. And men that do lose homes most often become homeowners much sooner than the women that are products of divorce. Most women suffer financially after divorce. Most women are impoverished. You should look this up before you like let it rule your mind and your thought process and your interactions with other people because it's not true. Women don't take half of what a man owns every single time. And but I will give you like women don't get as harsh of a punishment as men often. And that's what I was trying to explain to you guys. So people that think we just have it on easy street, people just don't treat it's because people infantilize us. It's the same people that are saying you're weaker than you have nothing to do with any of the hard jobs. We get, we do work on the oil rigs and working on the construction jobs and we maintain that infrastructure after we build it. Men are so important. And if you disappear tomorrow, nothing would matter because having children doesn't matter, right? Being the people that bring the future of society, that's mm. and it's just interesting how much all of that gets brought up. Um, I'm not going to read that last memory. I'm trying to catch up. Drop the birth rate and save this nation, the bird. And Jeffrey said, I'm fine with it. And I think that we're gonna be the first ones to really deal with that when we're older. Sergio, thank you. If you had to say something nice to one person, what would it be? Well, it depends on the person, Jeffrey. I can find something nice to say to anybody. I think all people have beautiful traits. So even if you look at somebody you don't think they're a beautiful person, there's definitely something, some feature, even like their style, the clothes they wear, the shoes they're wearing. I'm so good at giving compliments and I love giving compliments. I love boosting somebody's day. I love telling somebody something nice about them that's like not looks related or whatever it is, and you can just tell that they're like, "Oh, really? Thanks." And it's like so easy to give a compliment, and it makes me sad to say, but it is true. And I'm a married woman, so I'm not out there like complimenting men all the time. I do it less with men, but when I have done it with men, I've seen some of them react like they've literally never got a compliment before, and I have heard seen comments like that, and that's really sad. Because us women, we're so used to it sometimes, sometimes not. I was an ugly duckling. I had huge glasses, a mustache, frizzy hair. I have PCOS. The boomers screwed us and they don't care because they don't have to deal with it. Talix, I agree. Most of them have that attitude. It's crazy. It's like, have you not existed this whole time? You haven't seen the wages stagnated like I have in 40 years. But I'm so stupid. Gen Z is the generation after us, right? Gen Z is like my kids. They're already hating on millennials. And I remember having this thought a few months ago, wow, how we feel about boomers. Is that how our kids are going to feel about us? Because we bought our first house for barely $100,000, turned around and sold it for over two 7 years later. And I'm not bragging. That doesn't feel right. Of course, you're going to sell your market house for the market value. Of course, you are. I would sell that house to somebody I knew for less than if I had more money. But like, I knew then the houses went up like 37% in 2 years. Like this is unsustainable, and I worry about the future. And if we feel the way we do about our parents, or the boomers, whatever they may or may not be your parents' generation, that of course Gen Z is going to feel the same way about us because it all can be said. It's just less magnified. Like we had the last chance to become homeowners in our 20s for the most part. We did get to experience what it's like to make $600 or $700 a week, and that was enough to live off of, you know? If a wife wants wages for housework, then she shouldn't be also eligible for 50% of everything and divorce one or the other. No, you put in your time, Wonder Bucket. I don't agree with that because she's put in her time and made sacrifices. And whether or not you have kids, I don't want to make it sound like a woman has to have kids, but I mean, gosh, if you've broken your body so it could get put back together after birth, like, yeah, we're made to have babies, but it also literally like breaks our body. It's a lot. And yeah, I think that once again, they have calculations. It depends on the income. Women don't get half of everything. If they make as much or more, it's a lot different. When you've devoted decades of your life, like my husband got to be with me when like a lot of people want to bring up hitting the wall. Yeah, but he got to be with me when I was 19, 18, 19, 20, 25 years old and like at what most people would consider the peak of someone's beauty. I don't think it should matter. And I think once you develop a good bond with somebody, it doesn't matter. You still love them even as they age. But like that's just like so lost upon people in this environment where people are so judgmental over other people's looks. But yeah, I think anybody that wants, and I'm not saying this towards Wonder Bucket or anybody in the chat, but anybody that wants a marriage, anybody that thinks a goal of theirs one day might be having a partner for life, you really need to quit walking around with all the negative attitudes about divorce floating around in your head constantly. That is not going to help anybody. That is not going to help you attract a good partner. That really, me and my husband almost got divorced. I'm not. I'm really not saying this. He had the best paying job he ever had at the time. I didn't take what I could have. I was getting ready not to take what I could have. I'm not just. I know you guys. The red pill guys won't believe that. There are some women that look at it like, "Wow, you let me be a stay-at-home mom. Because of you, I could stay at home with our kids when they needed me the most, and I'm not gonna take everything I can." I was still able-bodied. I was, like, barely 30 years old, you know? Like, I still had my life in front of me and felt like I I I could have kept our 1 car, but I agreed to, like, have it for like 6 months after the divorce, and I was gonna give it back to him. Yada, yada, yada. But then again, keep in mind, we were separated. I was in a different apartment, and he was already giving me money every month, like a good man does, without being court ordered to do it. So, we've just always been like, even when we didn't get along, there were still certain things we're like-minded about that really helped. And that's the kind of stuff you should hash out before you have babies. We were just lucky that we happened to get knocked up for the first time, you know, and actually I have a solution for when I smell her. Actually, it's not the eyelid. If you're wearing the eyeliner, the oil glands block and the lids get heavy. It is okay. Abraham, I appreciate you. I can tell you're trying to help. But see, it is. See, what it is this part of this eye goes down, and then it's like I guess this eyelid really is a little lower too. I think it's called ptosis, and it could be a number of things. And you can get it corrected without getting put to sleep. Like if I ever made you too many, I might get a little, just because I think my eyes are one of my best features, honestly. I might get like a little like lift. Well, right now it's a little lifted because of my braids are kind of snatching. Jesus, I know you can live. Oh, Stephen, thank you. That's very sweet. I appreciate it. I'm ashamed to ask for help. Please spare $5 for food. I currently haven't ate anything today. I'm hungry. I will appreciate anything. Thank you. Is that your Cash App, Prentice Moonwalk? Donta6 said, if anybody's feeling generous, I wish I could give you money. I really can't. I have to go grocery shopping tomorrow. My husband hasn't given me the budget. I know that's not. It's just because we're on a budget. I mean, I was wondering why my brain was comparing both your eyes and saying something ain't right. Okay, Vin. Well, I'm glad you finally found the flaw in this human being. Once again, it must be. See, when I look at somebody, I don't look for what's wrong with them. I'm like, what cutie scan? I don't know what you mean by that, Angel. Angel, I'm not trying to be mean, but you're one of those people, your comments seem kind of like bot like. Did you see Melania Trump's address? What was the first? When has the first lady ever had time to address the nation? She was trying to come forward before things come out. I agree, Talix. Michael Wolff, this author, he wrote a biography about Trump, filed a suit. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. It's like there's a saying, there's a title to it where basically he's saying, I'm going to sue you before you sue me because I said something about you, but I believe it was information for the good of the public and that the public should know. And that's why she's coming out bringing up that exact email to Ghislaine because that was what was one of the things that was mentioned in his book. And notice how she didn't say shit about her husband. No mention of Trump. No mention of how Trump had nothing to do with it. And she wants the victims. And my grandparents had accents, and like I don't want to make anybody feel bad that has an accent. I just can't stand listening to her talk. She sounds she's so hard to listen to. She just you know what I mean? It's like, oh my God. Like I thought she was more eloquent when I didn't hear her talk. And once again, that is not a dig on people with accents. She just sounds dumb to me, and maybe that's because of my prejudice. But I do think it's really interesting, Talix, and definitely, and then how Trump didn't address it, and he's going full force. Um, Everybody's allowed to disagree. I think the marriage seems like a huge financial risk, hence the low birth rate. That is part of it, Wonder Bucket. No, sure. I think it's great that everybody's being more mindful, you know? I just don't want people to walk around thinking negatively. Every woman's out to get them. Every woman's out to. We're all working hard just to pay our bill. 60% of us are working hard just to pay our bills, you know? And it makes me sad because I feel like if you want a partner in life, now is the time when we could lean on each other the most. We don't, and it's sad. It's because I can be someone else, Lewis said. What state you get married and divorced and matters a lot with how things go in a divorce too. Yes, mine been gone. And that is really good advice. I would never tell somebody, don't tell a young person that, you know, it's just like, don't fill all young men up with these falsities. Literally, eh, most of the time a divorce happens, the woman becomes impoverished because a lot of women are in that situation where you know, they're dependent on him. They probably would have been divorced sooner if they weren't, and that's really sad to me, but I can understand it. 4 out of 5 marriages fail. Would you jump out of a plane if 4 out of 5 parachutes work? So, Talix, keep in mind, over 50%, I forget the exact rate. Most You can say most first-time marriages don't end in divorce. It's the people that say always and forever 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in their lifetime to somebody. I'm sorry, forgive me if that was you. It's those people that bring that rate to the point where it's like 4 out of 5 marriages fail. Keep in mind, 4 out of those 5 marriages, most of those were people that they didn't work it out with the first and I know there's abusive people, you really there is a good reason for divorce, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful divorce is out there, and I don't think it should ever go back to, I think like no fault divorce is a good thing. And anyways, yeah, most people that get married just once in their lifetime, they don't get divorced. You know what I mean? Marvin, yeah, I like to wear my hair like my husband likes this. Sophia, you have to have 100 subscribers, I believe. That may have changed. Jake Otto, I get a lot of compliments probably because I give them out a lot. Yeah, Jake Otto, that's nice. Lucky, lucky, lucky. Hi, how's it going? You look younger day after day. Oh, thank you. I have been good. See, I had it in the fridge for a long time. And I'm like, my sister got this for me. It's retinol, and it's like I don't know. I think this is probably more expensive than anything I'd ever buy for myself. I love this brand, COSRX. They have very good affordable products, but this particular thing is probably like 60 bucks or something. And you use 2 drops. And you're like, how could 2 drops go over my whole face? But somehow it does. ESA certified, and I own a double wide. No, I own it on an acre. And I'm making my next real estate video. It's really fun. I like making those. And in another life, maybe I would be a realtor, but I definitely couldn't do the politics. I couldn't, no. When rent is equal to a mortgage payment, there's a problem, right, Talix? Talix, we couldn't afford to rent the house that we own, like a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, like 1,300, 1,400 square foot house. We couldn't afford to rent this. Isn't that fucked up? That's wrong. What sense does it make that blue collar workers can't afford to rent a house, but they can own it? And we actually bought our first house because we moved to the town. We moved out of Louisville, moved back to the small town in southern Indiana I was from, and we went to the only apartment complex in town that had any vacancies because it was overrun with immigrants in that town. It was. I'm all about immigration when it's done legally. And they're like, I've seen what happens when a whole town gets over. That's not, they weren't bad people, but it totally changed that town and it took up resources from everybody, themselves included. But, anyways, luxury apartments that said they wanted like $4,000 to move in because it was like this, that, our credit they were, like, charging us all these extra deposits, but the credit was good enough to buy a house. So anyways, Ray Brown. See, if somebody else was, like, up my ass earlier on my channel, they're, like, going on and on, "I used to like you, but" like, trying I'm not gonna change my mind because somebody shamed me about Trump. It's fine if you, don't wanna watch me anymore, but I don't understand. I never went to a YouTuber, like, "Change for me." I never even thought about doing that. "Hiya, what's crack-a-lackin'?" "Oh, nothing much, Danny. I am getting ready to go. You attacked what you believe." "What do you mean by that, Jay Gatto?" "Yes, I do breathe, Johnny. You attract what you believe," Jay Gatto said. He got knocked up too. Oh, I say we when I talk about pregnancy and like having babies, because it doesn't feel right to like leave half of the person out that created the baby. I don't know. Thank you, Justin. Hi, Jerry. How are you? We were talking about Melania Bat Boy. I'm sorry, I'm so far back in the chat. She said they met in 1998 and was introduced to Epstein in 2001. Did you guys see it? There's a famous picture of like, it's like Trump, her, Epstein, and Ghislaine, and they're all like, they look so friendly. They're like, this is like one of their heads and the other head. She's like right up against Epstein. And like the look on her face, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. No, I totally think it might have been, in my opinion, him pouring out some models. Like there was models calling this shit out in the 90s too. Um, they would send them to parties and just like expect them to be prostitutes, basically. You sound highly unintelligent, but we don't mock you for it. What are you doing right now then, Joshua? I don't think people understand, you know, the words they say sometimes and the actions they take. You don't sound from Kentucky, Charlie said. There's lots of people with very Southern accents, and there's lots of people with no accents, all over Kentucky. It's interesting. You think like Southern Kentucky, like most people would have Southern accents, but it's not like that. It's funny. All I know, gay marriages that last way longer than lesbian straight marriages, common factor. I don't know, Talix. I didn't know that. Men tend to stick it out not in the way that they're like so This is a very generalization because I've heard this, and honestly, stuff I've been through in my marriage is like similar kind of things where I saw a guy say, like, we're okay. We don't want things to change. We're okay with the people that we married. And I think often it's the woman that's like, okay, let's do something here. Um and that can be used for good and bad. I'm not always saying that's a good thing, but it's often the woman that wants to make changes or wants to progress. So it kind of makes sense to me that two men together would be okay with just like, nah. Sorry guys, I'm really not trying to insult any men here, but I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes it's better to get divorced than stuck with the wrong person for sure. Fuzz. People who divorce because someone's not in love with the other kid when young kids are involved is pathetic. Stone Papa, I do understand where you're coming from. And I know it sounds fucked up, but like I don't mean it in a fucked up way. Sometimes I'm glad I was as dependent on my husband as I was. And I know somebody's gonna think that's so fucked up and like codependent or something. He's a good person. If he wasn't a good person, I wouldn't feel that way. But like it it can be really hard, but we both came from divorced homes and we were like neither one of us wanted our kids to be in our home part-time, but like we've been saying, sometimes it's for the best. Women talking like they know what's good and true is funny. Roscoe, see, this is why female predators that prey on teenage boys aren't being charged with crimes right now. Giving a minor alcohol and marijuana, giving him hundreds of dollars to basically be your sugar baby. She called him that, and he called her sugar mama. This one bitch got mad at the kid for not saying I love you back to her. And I think this was after he told her he didn't really think her body was that hot. It's like, is saying it to her face. The attitude that women don't know anything, that lends to criminals not getting charged with crimes they commit. Sorry, I just spit everywhere. Just that people don't realize that's at the heart of it. Like when you automatically assume women and you have this attitude, another woman that doesn't know anything. Really, that's why like I have built a YouTube channel off of just talking about things, which I'm not saying I know everything about everything, but you know what I mean. I hate all politicians and politics. Scary, me too. Hi, Gnostic. How are you doing? It's been a while. How are you? I'm good. I would love to own a double wide on 5 acres, dream life. Mine been gone. There's lots of that around here. What do you think I'm lying about, Travis? Or I'm sorry, Richard. Travis, I'm 39. Edge of South, a lot of rent. Houses are corporate owned, and these corporations are buying it more and more, and people can't afford to buy homes. Yes, and the trailer parks. One of the last affordable ways of living has been bought up by private equity. Oh, it's horrible. These retirement people on a fixed income, especially the whole trailer park on a fixed income. Oh, that makes me so mad. Seriously, if I ever won the lottery or something, I would start my own trailer parks. Now, know I saw a small home community in London, Kentucky, and I was wondering, I was like, I wonder how much the rent is there, but they're probably charging too much. But it was so fucking cute. It was like a bunch of teeny tiny houses right by each other. It was very similar to a trailer park. But why can't people do that with a heart that like don't want to? I just I like believe Native Americans didn't think, or at least some of them didn't think that anybody should own more than what they use. And I know that's never gonna happen, but I do think in a perfect world, people wouldn't have 6, 7 properties. That's not I know some people be like, "Oh, work smarter, not harder," and, like, "You're stupid for being proud of, like, actually working for everything." I just couldn't imagine in this day and age expecting somebody to be able to pay exorbitant rent and, like, lording over them. And I know there's good landlords, there are. I always talk fast. That's good that you admit there are things you don't know. Know-it-alls are really annoying to those of us that really do know it all, Matt. Yes, you're in Virginia, Richard. Cool. My sister isn't here with me. No. Remember you and your name, Dysphilitus. Oh my God, I said it. Dysphilitus typhus. Although Kentucky is not the poorest state, it is one of the poorest. Mississippi comes in first place, competing with West Virginia and Kentucky. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that makes Kentucky as cheap as it is. But there's also a lot of good stuff. You abuse and keep them poor. It's sad that this happens. Yes, Serge. I look old, like 50 years old. Okay, Graham, I know that's a troll. Fun fact though, Kentucky is designed to be a welfare state. It is the biggest welfare state in the US. I'm not making fun of Kentucky either. I just know that it is. I know you're not making fun, Dispo. Well, a lot of it was in the coal industry. The rugs were just ripped out of the biggest industry. It wasn't right what they did to people. But I'm not saying the coal companies were perfect. I don't make fun of people who use food stamps, and I never will. A lot of people are dependent, and it is sad when it becomes like a way of life. And there's a lot to be said about it's unfortunate. And there's a lot of pollution, mountaintop blasting. It seems like if you don't know, one way they've started to mine coal lately, last few decades or whatever, they blast the tops off entire mountains instead of like drilling into them. And that it sends all this stuff out into like there's like minerals, and then when too much of it gets in the local water ways, groundwater, local lakes and creeks and every rivers and everything, it's bad. And I think that's one reason, unfortunately, a lot of my kid has level 3 autism. He was born in Southern Indiana. I don't think he got his autism from Kentucky. That's not funny. I need to go. But I do think a lot of people, have been affected by a lot of things like that around here, and it's sad. Trump has done nothing for affordable housing for lower middle class and the poor, busy giving back to all his campaign contributors. Truth. Yes, Michael, I completely agree. Dang, Grime Times. Not only was that incredibly rude, it was also widely inaccurate. Don't you have a bridge to guard or something? Troll, massive. Old America built this country. Most people. Jay Hardy, hey, how are you? I was just thinking about emailing you. Um, anyways, I hope it's okay to say that because I was just like wanting to check in on you. Old America built this country. Most people today don't know the name of our first president. Right, Gnostic? Do you mean the real first president? Not George Washington, like the other, was it James something? The governors in Kentucky want Kentucky to remain a welfare state because they are getting rich off of it. Dispolitus, yeah. I mean, I just feel like all politicians are beholden to their lobbyists, you know? And it's the kind of thing, it's like when generational poverty affects a family, it is unfortunate. But like, okay, so the county maybe I shouldn't say this. I mean, whatever. They're like give boxes of stuff away, and it's like food, and sometimes it's like jewelry. I don't know, it's weird. I don't know where they get this shit from. I forget. Okay, I'm not gonna say what they call it and where it's out, and that might give it away. But like when you're used to living off one income, going to an area where the cost of living is cheaper and there's a lot of poor people around might benefit you because you're poor too. And that's like, I I really enjoy living in a place that's like, but I don't want to say that like I don't like having generational poverty all around. Central Kentucky is a weird place because it's not as poverty stricken as Eastern Kentucky. There's still a lot of money in cattle farming, even though there's not as much coal. Actually, there is like a coal place, not that mine, not far from here. I see it advertised, but of course the governor in Kentucky will deny this. Of course they're lying. Yes, dis. Please say the phrase hee haw. How are you, Jay Hardy, if you're still in here? Gnostic. The first real president. I have to Google that one, mine been gone. Yeah, there was a I know. I can like see his face in my head. Slices, how are you? I dedicate the song Fashion Killer by ASAP Rocky to you. I was going to say ASAP. That's what an old lady I am. I was going to say ASAP Rocky. Thank you, the hand. Somebody in here earlier said that and I didn't get it for a few seconds. I was like, my hair looks like handlebars. That's funny. And I was like, oh. But, anyways, it was fun talking to you guys about Padre Pio, although I'm sure it's annoying as hell to anybody on the playback. Oh, thank you, Sansu. Do you think I look like I'm 50? I am married, Sansu. Seems like French braids get subs. Don't Papa. Oh, have I hit 4,000 yet? Richard, hi, how are you? I I want to be at like 4,010 before I celebrate it. Front and back handlebars universal, the handler. Yeah, it's been a while since, anyways. I had a hysterectomy last year, still getting used to my new anatomy. Since I pointed out a flaw, I'll rephrase it to a compliment. I honestly think your droopy eye makes you look unique. I think I'm being too loud. Mazel tov. Trump should be in prison for the rest of his life. Trump is a warmongering criminal and pedo protector and chomo sex offender with underage teenage girls, but he gets away with it because he's his wealth. Yes, dis. Two-tier justice system. Somebody said it perfectly. Oh my gosh. It's like we obey the rules, but the laws don't protect us. And the wealthy, the owning class, don't have to obey the rules and the laws protect them. I was like, that is said perfectly. Oh, Jason, that's so cool. Jason's also in Kentucky. Well, I'm sorry. Oh, Jay Hardy, yeah, email me. I've been good, crazy busy. Good, good. Because the last time I emailed you, you didn't email me back, and that's completely fine. But I was just thinking literally yesterday, I was like, I want to check in on you, make sure you're okay. So that's good. I'm glad to hear from you. Lydia is so appreciative of people's views. Miss. Yes, Michael. No, I really it means more to me to have people like come back because I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Paducah, you're in Paducah, SS? Um, I've always wanted to go there. I've never visited Paducah, but it seems like a really cool town. I don't even think I've been that far west. Anyways, what do you think about the conflict in Iran and our relationship with NATO? Oh, a what? I think that Trump is awful and he's destroying our relation. That's one of the bad things when people are like, we're meeting our military objectives. It's like, that's what you say to make yourself feel better. Iran is gaining more power, making a buck. Good for them. I'm glad. Seriously, sincerely, good for them. We killed the guy who was less radical than his son, who is now in charge, and they have more control over the Strait of Hormuz now that our military presence isn't there. Tell yourself all you want, we destroyed their navy or whatever. Clearly, they have enough going on to control the Strait of Hormuz still. And like, we're worse off, they're better off. We're clearly not winning anything. And that's how I feel about all that. I wish everybody over there the best. And I think that for months they said that their people were getting shot for protesting. Remember that? And the people that supported Trump would say, we need to liberate them. And then it turned into they say death to America, which once again, it's really like saying down on America. And if you know, like Muslims, that's why they don't believe in a nuke. They don't believe in nuclear weapons. They don't believe in like they don't believe in gossip, you guys. Lydia, you have a wonderful night. Much love and respect. You too, Michelle. Love you. You cracking a beer after this? No, Stone Papa. I would have to pee so much, honestly. Um, Sometimes I'll be honest, there's been like two times where I did drink a beer after because I was so wired. And then I regret it because I'm like going to the bathroom when I'm trying to sleep. Wasn't the owning class from down south to begin with? Didn't KKK and Jim Crow laws come from there? Wasn't those Democrats? Yeah, Jim Dwyer. I just think everybody wants to make it about a side. I think that like they've proven that they'll take either side when it comes to Republican or Democrat. Somebody made a good point. You know, like Trump used to be a Democrat. Tulsi Gabbard was a Democrat. Elon Musk was a Democrat. They say what they know we want to hear at the time. You know. But, yeah, there is a lot of truth to, like and Kentucky isn't considered the South. I don't know if you meant that, but, like, there is a lot of truth to a lot of people think the Southern hospitality, sometimes that's not so hospitable. Sometimes these people are just, like, being nice to your face, and they're horrible behind your back, you know? Newport, Kentucky, cool user. I love the Newport Aquarium. Arabs are the gossipiest people on the earth. What are you talking about? Well, it's they probably do behind closed doors, but it's like illegal in Kuwait to gossip about somebody. You know what I mean? What is this channel about? All sorts of stuff. I'm from Kentucky. I talk a lot about gardening. I think that now we need to be as self-sustainable as possible and vote with our dollars. Probably not Kakumian. Muslim didn't have a word for hate or racist, Lynn said. And how do you take that, Lynn? Are you saying that, like, they aren't or that they it's, like, not you know what I mean? I could see that going either way. The strait is open and the stock market is high. Why are the poors revolting, Ava? The Dow, is it at 50? I love you too. See you next time if you can never get away. I know, Michelle. They were Democrats, but the ties will turn. We need a third party and term limits across the board. When I do this, I remind myself of my I wanna say my favorite grandma, and then I feel bad, but she was my favorite. She was the only one I wasn't related to by blood. And she would do this test when we were pulling out of her driveway, she'd be like, "Oh," and, like, say something else, and I would be, like, pulling out, she'd like, I'm like, "Grandma Cat." Republicans were also the ones that freed the slaves. These aren't the same Republicans these days. One of two wings on the same bird. I feel the same way, SS. Definitely. You said that well. They were Democrats, but the tides will turn. We need a third party and term limits across the board. I agree with Talix. Coal mine industry in Kentucky and West Virginia worship Donald Trump, especially because they think that Donald gives a fuck about them. Donald Trump wouldn't piss on them if they were on fire. Yeah, hi, hypernova. How are you? Yeah, you're probably right, but keep in mind, there's always gonna be exceptions, but I know what you mean, probably 70, 80, or 90% of coal miners, I know what you mean, they do. And it's just cognitive dissonance, the people that can't seem to see what's going on. I think they just can't admit it to themselves. I'm ashamed to ask for help. Oh, Dante, you were in here earlier. So there's a Cash App. Somebody says they need some money, and I hope you get some if you really need it, especially. I don't, I'm the kind of person, if I have the money and somebody's asking for it, I give it to them. Love gardening. Are you planting yet in your area? Raha, no. I have seedlings and I'm going to plant probably the first week of May. The last frost date is April 20th. I haven't ordered my soil. I might have planted stuff already, if I had soil. It's just one of those things, it's in the budget. I have a Venmo. I'm in South Central Search. I don't say the exact town because I spoke out about a guy that claims to be like a preacher of sorts, but he's not. And he's been indecent with horses and children before. And then they talked about like hiring a PI to find out where I live. Lydia needs to get a cold drink, put a favorite movie on with husband, wake him up. Oh no, he needs to sleep. He works 6 days a week. Bender, call me slow, but I want to wait and see about the Hormuz Strait situation. I say this because I don't necessarily agree with the Islamic Republican government of Iran shooting its own citizens. Or okay, Bender, you guys, I do have a clip of this. I don't know if it's going to make it into a video because I'm trying to lean away from like political videos because they don't do anything but just tell everybody what my opinion is. Um, did you see the journalist talk about how Trump told him that the Trump, the Trump, this is the fact, this isn't speculation, sent guns over there, gave them to the Kurds because he thought the Kurds would give them to the protesters, but he thinks the Kurds just kept him. I saw a journalist talk about it, and I think I heard like Trump actually talking about it. Could you imagine, Vendor, if they sent guns, if any country sent guns to people protesting in our country? Like, really think about how fucked up that is. I think they manipulated that. I think that the people that were shooting people were people trying to start World War III. What's going on right now? And that's just my opinion because I've seen so many false flags. And I think a lot of times when people are burning the flag here, it's a provocateur. Um, they don't want to burn the flag most of the time when they're like in a protest. It's the people like, in charge of the protest don't agree with that shit. I hate both Republicans and Democrats. They work together to turn people against each other and they're literally on the same side causing division and hatred. Right. And I think this is a big wake up moment for some. I hope it is that they see how it's why aren't more people doing something about this? And it really is evident that they're all working together, right? Alex Jones, Candace Owens, MTG, Tucker Carlson. Oh my God, I need to go. All turned on him. Yes, Talix and Nick Fuentes. And mentioned this earlier. I think they're all trying to start their own little movement, which good for them. I like most of those people. I think Alex is kind of crazy, but not really a what. I just use what's on the box whenever I make cornbread. Hi, Benny. How are you? They took too long to jump ship, Talix said. Okay. Okay, Raha. Georgia, we start a little earlier. Oh, yeah, you're probably like zone 8 or 9. That's cool. So you've started. East Coast is May 15th for frost cut off. McFoofinator said, it's all them small towns that's always creepy. Benny said, some of them are. I think it's super peaceful, but I know what you mean. Sometimes I've been in some that gave me the creeps. People come into live stream saying they haven't ate all day. It's most likely a scam, but I'm sure everyone knows that. Right, Mind Been Gone? Right, like, I feel like it's probably a scam too, and it does make me sad that people, like, take advantage of kind people, but it's always like, "Oh, what if it's not?" I got a real question for you. What's the secret to get crispy fried chicken like grandma made it? Fry it twice? That's what I do with french fries. I've got family in Kentucky. Cool, Serge. Like, seriously, who are the potential candidates for the next presidency? Did you see Kamala's tossing around the idea of running again? I just saw that headline today. Huh? Kurds have their own government. Yeah, Ducks Wide. I can't make sense of it either, but that is legitimate. I have the video recorded of the journalist talking about it. And I'm pretty sure I want to say I heard Trump's voice. I listen to most of my stuff, when I'm doing stuff during the day. I heard Trump's voice saying, "Oh, and I think they kept him." Like he's just like talking about something that happened in high school or something. It's like, are you like it's just so passive. We gave them guns, but they didn't give them to who they were supposed to. Meanwhile, people are living in their cars over here. I need more weed, no guns, Venison. Huey Lewis in the news. And now our own trade policy is just no borders, but ducks wide. Yeah, in a perfect world, Talix buttermilk is a huge staple with fried chicken. Yes. No, ducks wide. I'm not a political science major. Hi, Edward. How are you? We have been giving arms to the Kurds since Russia invaded Afghanistan in the early 80s. Wow. Hi, Benny. I am pretty cool. I think so. Thank you, Tala. Well, I really do need to go. Tucker Carlson's dad was CIA. Yes, Stone Papa. Yes, I do. I do know that, but he's all right with me. The people that he listed off, I was watching Anomaly and he said this. So once again, I don't want to like say anything I got from somebody else and like it's my original thought. He made a great point. He's like all those people, well, with the exception of Alex Jones, he's just always been crazy, right? But still, He makes fine money not being on a network. And Trump's trying to say they weren't good enough for TV. Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson was kicked off, and Candace got kicked off her platform, which was the Daily Wire. And it's like, no, you're talking about the people who actually have enough guts and heart to be like, I made enough money. Hey, maybe I can make even more money, but at least I'll make enough money to survive and be able to say what I want to say and not have to say exactly what they want me to say. And I appreciate people like that. But I still always do. I've said this on my channel. I'm suspicious of Candace just having like the number two podcast, or was it even number one for a little while? Anybody that's that big, I'm going to automatically be a little suspicious of, which is unfortunate. But hi, Sherman. How are you? I used to be a Democrat until the party turned sick. Now I'm an independent, maybe leaning a tad right. Yes, Jim, I'm an independent too. Kurds don't officially have their own government, Vendor said. Oh, so you're a greedy, selfish, far right streamer. Are you talking to me, Ducks? That's funny. Don't trust Democrats or Republicans. Trust only in Jesus Christ. That's good advice, Steve. I helped someone homeless and they used me and screwed me over for helping them out. Oh, I hate hearing that, Surge. Yeah, I do understand. Okay, so there's been plenty of times where somebody asks for money from me and then you give them a little and then they ask for more and then they get mad at you if you don't give them more. Okay, bad. Another reason why I'm glad to be in a small town, man. Like there are people suffering, but you don't run into stuff like that so much. I used to like Tucker until he started bashing Israel. Well, W here, everybody is welcome, but I believe they're committing genocide and ethnic cleansing, so anybody that's against them is fine with me. Alex Jones ended up being a legitimate reporter after the files were released. Foofinator, I love that name. Tucker believes in ghosts, the Raha said. Is that how you say your name, Raha, or is it Raja? I name myself Sir Human. Okay. Okay. Now I really am going to go. Nobody said anything. Cooper, who called 911, said Alex Jones's controlled opposition in 2001. Right. Yes. Stone Papa. I've heard that for a long time about him. Michelle, I decided to stick around and finish listening, but my phone was 5%. Okay. I really am going to go now. How you commit genocide on a religious belief system? Genocides can only happen to groups of people from areas, not a belief system. But because they're have you heard of what's going on in Lebanon, the displacement of people in Lebanon? Like, what did Lebanon do to anybody? How can anybody make sense of Lebanon? Tell me the mental gymnastics that you can do as a workout from that. Explain to me. And please don't be so dense. We're literally like Israel, and now the US military is helping, is literally slaughtering people and has been for years. I'm sorry. Sorry, that's just gonna get an automatic block on my channel. I just can't. There's always people when you bring up genocide, there's somebody being like, "What genocide? Hmm. What genocide? Hmm." It, mm. If I could reach across, Tucker got my attention when he started to acknowledge the conspiracies that Black people have spoke out about for years. That's why classism is a bigger issue than race. Oh yes, SS. I am an imperfect human with beliefs and opinions that dictate what I do. Vendor. Okay. Modern Israel is not the Israel of the Bible. It is a creation of the Rothschilds after World War II through the Balfour Declaration. You said it better than I could have, first person. That's what I believe too. And did you know it didn't used to say Israel until like 1900 something? It was like somebody said it was said Jacobs, but I swear that Joey Fells, it was like Jacob something. Anyways, I do agree with that. And I think they manipulated all of us. I think they knew when they did it, like this is what manipulates Jewish people as well. I don't think all Jewish people are horrible. But seeing Abby Martin do her street interviews in Jerusalem was very eye-opening. And okay, I'll say that I remember years ago on YouTube, somebody had a video that was long before AI, and it was little Jewish kids saying like death to Muslims or death to Islam or something like chanting it. Little boys. It would have been less disturbing if they were like teenagers with teenage angst. It still would have been disturbing, don't get me wrong, but it was like more disturbing that these were little kids. And oh, did you see that? My light died and I thought my power went out because my brain, that's my sign. Just planted tomatoes? Oh, that's so cool. I have tomatoes going, like, inside. I am so excited to have fresh tomatoes and not be eating store-bought greenhouse. Just tastes like nothing. Um, okay. Kansas boy here so far just got cold crops and onions, radishes, lettuce. That's what I would be doing. My root veggies and like salad greens if my soil was in. I just think it's so funny. If I think somebody's crazy, I don't engage with their channel because I don't want to help spread their message. See, see how different I look. Hold on. That's what I was saying. You can see all my old lady wrinkles without my bright light. Anyways, you're great at reading these responses quickly and still responding to them. Cheers. I try McFoofinator. Sometimes I get behind in the chat and I'm trying to like work better at like, not reading the comments that don't matter and stuff. I'm making fun of people who name themselves you're not a Democrat nor Republican or an independent, etc. You're just a cult if you think like that, right? Yes, cult-like thinking, and you believe in the one person that's the cult leader in anything they say. And that's exactly what's going on with Trump right now. Okay. I really am gonna go. Probably eat a little snack and go to bed. But it was fun talking to you guys. And I love you all. We say I love you to each other around here because you never know. You know what I mean? Can I get your address? I'm about to leave, Diva said to the Raja. Raha. Anyways, hi, first person. I'm sorry. I really am going. Love you all. Good night.